So from here, we'll just start our appreciation of this Ramananda Rai Sangvad. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he has commented a number of times, and I've also mentioned it a number of times, that if all the granthas in the world were thrown into the ocean or became non-existent, if they were still existing, this Chaitanya Charitamrita, then nothing would be lost. Everything is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita from start to finish. So, and the heartbeat of this Chaitanya Charitamrita is this Madhya Lila chapter 8, this Ramananda Rai Sangvad. Why? Because Mahaprabhu is engrossed in the identity of being Nimai Pandit in Navadvip. And he's relishing the idea of being like a Pandit, a scholar. And he's relishing the various Siddhantas, etc., that are expounded by his various teachers there. And he would challenge the devotees on the points of Tattva and Siddhanta. But the mood in Navadvip Dham is like the mood of Krishna in Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu's mood is more like Krishna in Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu has the potential to taste this highest condition of Sri Radhika's prem. Sri Radhaya pranaya mahima kidri shobhanaiva swadyena madhurima kidri shobhanodan sokyam kasyam mad anubhavita kidri sampati loba tadbhavadya samajani sachigarabo sindhu harindo. He has these, he's manifested with these three desires, but in Navadvip Dham, he has like a sambandha lokik relationship with the residents there, very friendly and so on. And then when he meets Ishvara Puri, then everything changes in his life. So this is a very wonderful transition. Then he's called Gaurahari after he's met Ishvara Puri, and his whole mood changes, and he is trying to serve all those devotees that he was challenging previously. He wants to carry the laundry of Srivas Thakur, etc. He wants to do all kinds of services for the devotees. So his whole mood is softening. So this is Mahaprabhu in Navadvip. And then we know he hears the criticism of the students there when he's chanting Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. And he realizes, and the students, they become really angry, annoyed with him. And they even plan to hurt him. So Mahaprabhu realizes this, of course, because he's the omnipotent Lord. And he decides, this is not the reason why I've come to make people offensive towards me. So I must go into that renounced order of life, where people will show natural respect for me. This will help the people of this age. Mahaprabhu has come for a specific purpose and reason. He's come a remarkable mission, Mahaprabhu. Only once in the whole day of Lord Brahma, once every 8,640,000,000 years, this avatar, this golden avatar manifests to give the highest realization to the conditioned jivas in this darkest age of Kali Yuga. So then Mahaprabhu decides to take sannyas, decides to embrace that ashram. So there's beautiful pastimes when he leaves Mother Sachi and dives into the Ganga on that ice-cold night in the month of Magh, February, and leaves for Katwa, comes out in Katwa, and he meets Keshava Bharati and takes sannyas then. And it's described there are 3 people present with him. There's Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Datta, and Chandrasekhar. And some commentaries say that Gadadhar Pandit is there, but they don't all agree on that. So those other commentaries are there, but certainly these three, Mukundadatta, Nityananda, and Chandrasekhar, they are. Chandrasekhar is the husband of Sachimata's sister. Sachimata's sister. So this is his relationship in a sort of familial relationship with Mahaprabhu. So then he takes that sannyas ashram, then he wants to immediately go to Vrindavan. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to sketch Mahaprabhu's pastimes until he comes to the Godavari, where we will pick up the conversation with Ramananda Roy. But it's important that we have a full appreciation of the moods and the movements of Mahaprabhu prior to coming to the Godavari. Then we'll get the broader perspective on what's about to transpire. So Mahaprabhu has this potentiality for Radha Bhav, but it hasn't risen yet. It's described that in those nocturnal 24-hour kirtans practically in the house of Srivas Thakur. My Gurudev has described that actually he was tasting Mahabhav, because Navadvip is non-different to Vrindavan. So those same moods have to be present in Navadvip. So we know that for 12 months, these kirtans were going on in the house of Srivas Thakur. So this is equivalent to the Ras Lila pastimes in Vrindavan. So Krishna himself, he experiences this Mahabhav, but he doesn't experience the higher tastes that Sri Radhika experiences. In his form as Krishna, he can only come to the limit of Mahabhav, but he's aware of Radhika and some of the gopis. They attain higher stages of Rudha and Adiruddha Mahabhav. So this is why Mahaprabhu has actually come. He's come as the Ashraya, and he wants to taste that speciality only in Radhika and in the gopis, in their mood. All the gopis attain Mahabhav. Some of the gopis, like Lalita, Vishakha, etc., they go to the higher stages also. But Krishna himself, he can't, because he's the Vishaya. And the Vishaya is, he's the object of affection, he's receiving. But the person giving the affection is actually tasting a higher ras. And this is what Krishna wants to taste. So in Navadvip Dham, he didn't reach that pinnacle of devotion, even though he attained the stage of Mahabhav during those Ras Lila pastimes in the house of Srivas Thakur. So then he's at the age of 24, in 1510, is when he takes the sannyas ashram. So he has 24 years in Navadvip and 24 years in the renounced order. It's very interesting. It's exactly 50-50, which is exactly like the meeting and separation, because in Vrindavan, it's 50% meeting and 50% separation. That's the structure of the Vrindavan pastimes. So we see in pastimes like Nishanta Lila, Ratri Lila, and Madhyana Lila, this is meeting. And then in pastimes like Pratar Lila, Purvana Lila, Apuvarna Lila, Shyam Lila, Pradosh Lila, they are like in separation, or there are at least elders around. So in Braj itself, there's 24, in the 24 hours, there's 12 hours meeting and 12 hours separation. So Mahaprabhu's life is reflecting that in a sense, because for 24 years he stayed in Navadvip, and in the second 24 years, my Gurudev describes, he practically never has darshan of Krishna in those 24 years. He's full Vipralamba mood, Vipralamba bhav for those 24 years in that sannyas ashram, practically only in the separation mood. The whole time he's in that mood of separation, which is what he came to taste. He came to taste that higher ecstasy of Vipralamba Bhav. So practically for the whole of those 24 years, he's experiencing that Vipralamba, especially, of course, in the later pastimes, in the Gambhira. So now Mahaprabhu has taken sannyas in Katwa, and he immediately wants to go to Vrindavan, and he's wandering around in Radhadesh. And Advaita Acharya and Nityananda, they fool him, and they bring him back to Shantipur. And it's very beautifully described. This is all in the beginning of the Madhya Lila. So when we get the rhythm, so to speak, of the Chaitanya Charitamrita context itself, we see in the Antilila, Krishna's Kaviraj is laying down such a powerful foundation of Tattva and Siddhanta. Who is Nityananda? Who are the Panchatattva? Who is Advaita Acharya? All these tattvas, etc., are explained very profoundly by Srila Krishna's Kaviraj. But then in the Madhya Lila, then it starts to describe his movements as a sannyasi, because Vrindavan Das Thakur didn't describe so much of those later pastimes. Vrindavan Das Thakur mostly focuses on the pastimes in Bengal, of Mahaprabhu in Bengal. He's never had darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vrindavan Das Thakur. He's the last disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. So he remains mostly in the Navadvip pastime and in this Sambandha Lokyavat, this familial relationships that Mahaprabhu has in Navadvip. So now Mahaprabhu has been brought back by Advaita Acharya and Nityananda, tricked. Mahaprabhu is wandering through Radhadesh, and Nityananda, he's telling all the cowherd boys, if this sadhu asks where you're going, where is Vrindavan, you say this way. And if you say, what is the name of this river, you say it's the Jamuna. So they tricked Mahaprabhu. And then suddenly Advaita Acharya is there with a boat and in the Ganga. And Mahaprabhu is surprised, and he's got an extra set of cloth, etc. But he brings him back and to Shantipur. And in Shantipur, Mahaprabhu meets with all the lamenting devotees. They are all in extreme mood of separation, because now Mahaprabhu has had his beautiful hair shaved, and Mother Sachi comes, and it's an extraordinary mood that is generated in Shantipur at that time, when Mahaprabhu is showing to his Nityasiddha Parikas his form as a sannyasi. They practically can't bear it. But he remains there for 5 or 7 days, and they have so much feasting and kirtan. And finally, Mother Sachi, she requests Gaurahari to go to Puri, because Puri is not so distant, not so far away. If he stays in Puri and performs his bhajan, then Mother Sachi will feel some connection, not so far away.
Actually, it is said that Jagannath Puri and Navadvip, they are like 2 rooms in a house.
Yes, yes. So, although we know Siddhantically that Navadvip Dham itself is like Madhurya Ras, whereas Jagannath Puri is Aishwarya. It's a mood of Aishwarya. Actually, Jagannath Puri is likened also to Dwarka. It's similar mood to Dwarka. It's an Aishwarya mood there, but still they are like 2 places, 2 rooms in the same house, according to the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu, then he leaves for Puri, and he's accompanied by Nityananda, Jagadananda Pandit, Damodar Pandit, and Mukunda Datta. These 4 people accompany Mahaprabhu, who is in complete ecstasy, completely free now. He's fully embracing this sannyas ashram. But still, this Sakhi Bhav of Sri Radhika hasn't risen in his heart yet. He's still in a mood of, or an identity of Shyam Bhav, of Krishna mood. He still has that mood there. So this is what we're going to examine in our Rai Ramananda Samvad. This Ramananda Samvad is like such a transitional, pivotal point in Mahaprabhu's experience in his 48 years, this Sangvad is so important to understand because it crosses over that line where Mahaprabhu, when he has his conversation with Ramananda Rai, Ramananda Rai will impart to him a mood of this Sakhi. Ramananda Rai, of course, is Vishaka, so born at the same moment as Sri Radhika. So she's immersed, of course, naturally in that Sakhi Bhav, and she gives this experience of Sakhi Bhav to Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar, who is Gaura Hari. So that's how he gets the Sakhi Bhav. We can't get these moods without having the person who has these moods. So this is like many teachings are there. So then Mahaprabhu finally comes to Puri, and we know the wonderful pastimes right at the very end. Nityananda, he breaks his danda, and Mahaprabhu becomes irritated with that. He's not happy with that, and he leaves the party. He leaves Jagadananda Pandit, Damodar Pandit, Nityananda and Mukunda. He leaves them behind, and he goes into Jagannath Puri alone. And then we know the pastime. He passes out in ecstasy in front of Lord Jagannath when he sees Lord Jagannath. Of course, he's only seeing Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar, so already something is rising in his heart in attraction to Krishna as he being the identity of Mahaprabhu. So then, when he's completely unconscious, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya takes him, picks him up, takes him to his own place, which is very close by. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, at this particular point, is a very important personality in the pastime to appreciate who he was. Mahaprabhu specifically wants to meet Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is like Brihaspati in the heavenly kingdom for his erudition, etc. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has become complete Mayavad, totally. Like Brihaspati. Brihaspati is considered Brahman realized. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is the same, and he's preaching Mayavad the whole time. So he takes, he's fascinated by the form and effulgence of Mahaprabhu, his beauty, etc., and his youth. And Mahaprabhu is only 24 years old. So he takes him to his place, and then finally the other members of the party, Nityananda, Mukunda Datta, Jagadananda Pandit, Damodar Pandit, they arrive, and they hear that this effulgent sannyasi has been taken to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, so they go there, and they remain with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for some time. And there's a very beautiful pastime here, where Mahaprabhu, he purifies all the Mayavad conceptions of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Absolutely remarkable. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wants to educate Gaura Hari, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the devotees are very unhappy about this, but Mahaprabhu says, no, he is my senior devotee, I must listen to him. So for one whole week, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is instructing Mahaprabhu on Vedanta, the philosophy of Vedanta. Mahaprabhu is very patiently listening to everything. And at the end, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's asking, well, you haven't commented, you haven't said anything in 7 days. I don't know whether you're understanding or you have any questions. And then Mahaprabhu, he opens up completely and said, yes, I've listened to everything you're saying, but what you're presenting is completely fallacious. It's not the truth, what you're presenting. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's shocked. And all his thousands of disciples there also. This conversation takes place in the courtyard of the Jagannath temple. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is going regularly to the Jagannath temple, and within the courtyard, this conversation is taking place. And all the pundits who only follow Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they're shocked when Mahaprabhu starts to contradict. But then Mahaprabhu speaks so lucidly and eloquently, touching the heart of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, purifying every single objection that he was making as far as Krishna being impersonal. He just took the whole Vedanta and presented it from an impersonal perspective. So, like based on Sankhya philosophy. So Mahaprabhu completely purifies, and at the end Mahaprabhu shows him his Chaturbuj form, Sarvabhaumacharya, he sees that and he understands fully the identity of Mahaprabhu and worships him beautifully. And then after a few months, it's described, Mahaprabhu stays at that time in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's maternal aunt, who's left the world, and he stays in that. He hasn't come into the Gambhira yet. He stays in that particular house. And then after 3-4 months, it's described, Mahaprabhu requests the devotees to let him go to the south on a preaching tour. And of course the devotees try to stop him, but Mahaprabhu is the independent Lord, and they accept that finally. And then Mahaprabhu leaves Puri through Alalnath, through that place, and starts his tour of South India. So this is after about 4, 5, maybe 6 months into 1510, because he leaves in 1510 from Navadvip. So about 6 months on, he begins his South Indian tour, which lasts for approximately 2 years almost. And he makes the excuse, really, that he wants to go and meet his brother Vishwarup, who's taken sannyas, and he wants to see his whereabouts, etc. Mahaprabhu already knows that Vishwarup has left this world. He became Sankaranya, that's his sannyas name. But Mahaprabhu is using that as a reason to go to South India. And it's very beautifully described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, how Mahaprabhu is wandering in South India, just chanting Hare Krishna, his arms raised, this golden, beautiful, effulgent form, mesmerizing everybody. And it's described that Mahaprabhu makes all of the, practically the whole of South India ultimately into Vaishnavas. Mahaprabhu has the form of Srimati Radharani. All her beauty, all her compassion, all her sweetness, Mahaprabhu has all that within him. And then, because right at the very end, when Mahaprabhu is bidding farewell to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he mentions Rai Ramananda. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya didn't really connect fully with Ramananda Rai, because Ramananda Rai was a Vaishnava. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was like a Mayavad Pandit. So they didn't really connect. But nevertheless, now that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya realizes the identity of Mahaprabhu, then he beseeches Mahaprabhu, you please go and find Ramananda Rai. He is the one who understands most about the topics of Braj, etc., and the Rasi descriptions of what is the stages in the higher rasas. So then Mahaprabhu gets this information from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then it's described that now Mahaprabhu, he comes and he takes darshan. I think it's over in a Sringadev temple, finally the last one. And then he comes to Godavari. And this is where our pastime catches up, so to speak. This is where we're going to enter into this Leela of Mahaprabhu. So I've tried to sketch Mahaprabhu's movements all the way down from leaving Navadvip, his sannyas in Katwa, Keshava Bharati, coming through all the different places in, on the way to Jagannath Puri, and then his short pastimes in Parat Jagannath Puri with his followers. At this point in Jagannath Puri, when he comes this first time, Swarup Damodar hasn't arrived. So many of his eternal parakas, they haven't arrived yet. They arrive later when he returns. In the chapters where he returns, that's when they all come to meet him. But at this point, he's just with his few associates. But Nityananda is there for sure. Nityananda, who is the embodiment of Balaram, couldn't have had that full identity without the mood or the bhav of Sankaranya Vishwarup merging into the body of Nityananda Prabhu. So that's how Mahaprabhu knows that Sankaranya has left this world. his brother Vishwarup. So then Mahaprabhu comes to the Godavari, and he takes his bath as he normally does, and he's with his servant Krishnadas. And while he's sitting on the bank chanting Hare Krishna, then he sees this beautiful procession of Brahmins coming along the road beside the Ganga, chanting wonderful Vedic mantras, etc.
Godavari.
In Godavari, yes, they've come to Godavari. He's come to Godavari. And he sees this personality in a palanquin. And it's described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, he almost immediately understands this is Ramananda Rai. This is the person that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has encouraged me to meet. And I want to meet him. And somehow by fortune and providence, I've come to this place, and Ramananda Rai is coming at this very moment. And then Ramananda Rai is described, he sees this tremendously effulgent sannyasi, and he becomes mesmerized by him immediately and wants to meet him. And he comes to where Mahaprabhu is, and immediately Mahaprabhu embraces Ramananda Rai, and they actually fall on the ground in ecstasy together. And it's described that the Brahmanas who are following Ramananda Rai is the governor. He's the governor of this lower province. It's the furthest away province of Prataparudra's kingdom at that time. It's in Maharashtra, I think, isn't it? Where is the Godavari? Andhra Pradesh. It's in Andhra Pradesh. Yes, it's in a lower place. And this is, so Ramananda Rai is the governor of that province, ruling for Prataparudra, so it's a very important post. So then Ramananda Rai, he meets with Mahaprabhu there, and they have a totally euphoric, ecstatic meeting. And then Mahaprabhu realizes that so many of these Brahmins are watching them. So Mahaprabhu begins to contain his ecstasies. And then they agree to meet that evening. And then we begin our discussion. But there's some beautiful descriptions prior to this that my Gurudev is describing in the beginning of this beautiful book, this Ramananda Rai Sambad, which I want to read now to fully make the picture very broad where we're going. I've tried to pack in the details of Mahaprabhu's traveling and his acceptance of sannyas, etc., to see the sequence of events. Personally, I find it very grounding when I can understand sort of like almost the historical aspects as well as the moods of Mahaprabhu. What is he, how are his moods rising, and so on. So on page 11 of this book, right at the beginning in the introduction, I'm going to start reading through here a glorification initially of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, without our full appreciation of where we are getting this divine confidential information from. We cannot acknowledge our source properly. Where is our anchor, so to speak? Where is it coming from? So my Gurudev begins to describe this Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, who has written this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'll read from the second paragraph. Shri Rai Ramananda Sangvad, the conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramananda, is one of the most shining treasures within the Chaitanya Charitamrita, written by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. Indeed, it is like the Kaustubha Mani, the most brilliant jewel adorning the neck of Sri Krishna himself. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is a most unprecedented gem-like literature containing the Siddhanta of pure devotion. This is where we're going to come to. This is why it's such a profound topic. It'll carry us right through to the high, even beyond Shuddha Bhakti, to Braja Prem, to what is the prem of the gopis, what is the prem of Radhika. All of this is going to be unpacked in this Sangbad. It's tremendously profound body of writing. With regards to this, the most respected Sri Narottam Das Thakur has written the following. My friend Bilba Mangala Thakur, where I'm staying, he'll be chanting the Sanskrit or Bengali verses for me. He's very familiar with this, the South Indian part of the world, and he's a very senior devotee, and he chants very nicely. So if you can chant this verse, Bilba, this Pratana. This is from the Pratana, Narottam Das Thakur's Pratana.
Krishna Das Kaviraj Rasika Bhakatamaj Jeho Kaila Chaitanya Charita Gaura Govinda Lila Shunite Galaya Shila Tahatena Haila Mora Chitta.
Thank you, Bilba. Thank you. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is an exceptionally high-class devotional poet. He is also Bhavuka, one who is immersed in experiencing the more elevated expressions of divine love. He has composed the unprecedented sacred texts, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which describes the pastimes of Sri Gauranga, and Sri Govinda Lilamrita, which depicts the pastimes of Sri Govinda. Both of these books, being crown jewels of transcendental literature, are the best of all contributions. So this is going to be our subject for study. So there are many aspects to our devotional path. There is our sadhan, bhajan, but we have to understand, as we've said so many times previously, that unless the sadhan bhajan is focused clearly on bhav bhakti, then our sadhan bhajan or sadhan bhakti is actually useless. It has no footing at all. It's just ritualistic. Unless you're understanding the nature of bhav, the nature of bhav bhakti. So we have this beautiful verse. What is it? Agni Shubhada. What's that verse? Klesh Agni Shubhada. And then this is describing what is bhakti, Klesh Agni. When all the kleshas, all the suffering, Agni has been incinerated. And then Shubhada, this creates a great auspiciousness for the practitioner. So this is at the stage of sadhan bhakti. And then we move through to bhav bhakti, moksha lokhuta krit. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this verse. So this moksha lokhuta krit is very important, because this means I look with complete disregard or disdain on the attainment of moksha or liberation. This is very, very powerful statement. I'm traveling here in South India, and I'm seeing so many of the residents here, they have their clear focus on attaining moksha by following the rules and regulations very carefully. So this moksha is the goal of practically all the ancient rishis and so on. So, but still, it's a stage higher than just doing sadhan. So moksha lokhuta krit sudurlabha. Even this stage is very, very rare. And then the final stage of prem, Sandra Ananda Visheshatma, Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa, that this Sandra Ananda, this bliss, can only enter the consciousness. That's what Sandra. Sandra means nothing else can come in except Ananda. So this is the final stage of prem. And Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa means this will attract Krishna. So this is the conclusion of prem. So these three clear stages, sadhan bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prema bhakti. We have to conclusively, absolutely, fully understand these distinctions. And we should consider, where am I at? I am performing sadhan bhakti, but my focus, my desire is on bhav bhakti. that's where I want to go. So we have to consider it. So studying this Ramananda Rai Sangvad, we are practically pushed into the arena of Bhav Bhakti. We're pushed into that place to consider these remarkable truths that ultimately Mahaprabhu has come to give, which is Braja Prem. This is what Mahaprabhu has come to offer to the conditioned jivas of this world, this Braja Prem. So continuing reading on page 12 of this Ramananda Rai Sangvad. Srimad Bhagavatam, the king of devotional literature, that we've already established, and the essence of all Vedanta, is considered to be the birthplace of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, and was revealed by Bhagavan. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana. It's the conclusion of the Vedanta, and was revealed to Bhagavan, Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Vedavyas, during his devotional trance. We remember in chapter 7 of the first canto of the Bhagavatam how Vedavyas has been lamenting. He feels despondent. He's sitting on the bank of the Saraswati River at Samya Prash Ashram, feeling unhappy, and Narad appears and he encourages Vedavyas, and he imparts from his heart a vision, a trance of Krishna in Vrindavan. He sees these pastimes of Krishna. This gives him the ability, the adhikar, to actually write the 10th canto, because all that we're going to be discussing is going to be hovering around the 10th canto pastimes. Who is Radhika? What is her relationship with Krishna? Who are the Sakhis? What is their relationship? What is their identity? This is where we're going with this Ramananda Rai Sangvad. It's so special for us to absorb. Similarly, the two above mentioned books by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami are also acknowledged as the very essence of the Veda, Vedanta, the Puranas, and all historical records. So my Gurudev is writing this now. So we know that Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana, the king of devotional literature. Yet, as I said in the very beginning, that this Chaitanya Charitamrita actually eclipses the Bhagavatam, because Sukadeva Goswami himself, he cannot describe, he cannot even utter the name Radhika. Anaya Radhito Nunam Bhagavan Hare Ishvara. This is the only time he even mentions her name in the whole Bhagavatam. And it's not even mentioned directly. It's just hinted at. So Shukadeva Goswami, of course, was previously Radhika's parrot. So if he speaks on these topics, then he will go into such a high state of ecstasy that he won't be able to complete his narration before Parikshit Maharaj's 7 days expire. So there is a time, actually, after the Aghasura pastime has been narrated, when he does go into ecstasy and into a swoon, because Parikshit Maharaj is asking about, he's anxious and eager to hear more pastimes about Krishna. And Shukadeva begins to think about those pastimes and just passes out, and it's described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Narad, Vyasadeva, and so many Sutta Goswami, they have very loud kirtan in his ears to revive him and bring him back so that he can continue his narration to Parikshit. So this would be his state. So Bhagavatam is the essence. Everything is there, but it's not as liberal, we can say, as the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It doesn't carry us. So, because there's no other avatar in existence like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's no other personality. There's no other person more munificent, more compassionate. Why? Because he's carrying Sri Radhika's mood. It's Sri Radhika's bhav that Mahaprabhu is carrying and distributing. He's distributing because of Sri Radhika. So it's only through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we understand something of the nature of who is Radhika. Prior to Mahaprabhu, Radhika was not even practically worshipped. We remember even after Mahaprabhu in Jaipur, Govinda, etc. were not, the king wanted Radhika next to Govinda in Jaipur. And the local pundits, the Ramanujas, etc., the smarter Brahmins, they said, no, where's your Shastra to support that Radhika can stand? Radhika is in this Parakiya mood. So these moods are very secret, very confidential, and they have to be kept under wraps, so to speak. So the Bhagavatam, it keeps it, respects that confidentiality. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is opened a lot more liberally. And it's only in this chapter of the Rai Ramananda Sangvad that it's really opened out, fully. So we'll continue reading here. Full of humility, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj writes in his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita.
He granta lekaya more madana mohan amara likana yena sukera patan sheliki madana gopal yelikaya kashtera putali yena kuhakena chaya.
So this is from the Adi Leela, chapter 8.
Yes.
Sri Madan Mohan is directly writing this book through me. My writing is just like a parrot who repeats what he has learned from another. I am writing what Madan Gopal is himself dictating to me. I am simply a wooden puppet dancing or writing according to his desire.
One small comment, Maharaj. Here it says Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the birthplace of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion. Similarly, Srivas Angan in Sridham Mayapur is considered to be the birthplace of Sankirtan. That's where the whole Sankirtan pastime started.
Yes.
The nightly
Yes.
kirtans. So that was like,
In the Yoga Pit, yes.
yeah,
So that Sankirtan Ras,
yes.
that constitutes the Ras Leela pastime in Navadvip Dham. And the Bhagavatam pastimes are local to Vrindavan. The Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, is focusing on Vrindavan pastimes, whereas the parallel is in the Gaura Leela also, so it's there too, in both places. Regarding the creation of that scripture, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states therein,
Chaitanya Leela Ratnasar Surupera Bhandar Teho Tuili Raghunatera Kante Taha Kichu Yeshu Nilun Taha Ihan Vistarilun Bhaktagane Dilun Ye Bhete.
Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 2. For 16 years, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, stayed directly at the lotus feet of Sri Sachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu in Sridham Jagannath Puri. That which he witnessed and heard directly by his transcendental eyes and ears, and that which he heard from his close association with Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, who as an internal association of the Lord is the foundation of this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So my Gurudev is really laying down the praman from where is this amazing revelation manifesting from. It's manifesting ultimately from Raghunath Das, who is speaking to speaking to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. And Raghunath Das is representing Srila Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar, he passes away practically a few months after Mahaprabhu leaves this world. The next Ratha Yatra festival is practically the time when Swarup Damodar leaves this world. And then we know that Raghunath Das, he comes in great lamentation, and he comes to Vrindavan ready to leave his life. He has nothing else to live for. All the eternal parikas have left this world. He wants to throw himself off Govardhan Hill, but he meets Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, and they encourage him, no, this is not what Mahaprabhu, this is not favorable for Mahaprabhu's mission. Now you have to stay here, and you have to write so many scriptures also. So he writes the Vilap Kusumanjali, the what's that, Stavamala, done so many pastimes. He's writing Manashiksha, and he lives in Radhakund for approximately more than 40 years. He's staying in Jagannath Puri, it's stated here, for 16 years. And during those 16 years, he's physically witnessing Mahaprabhu's transcendental ecstasies. So he can impart those visions directly into the core of the heart of this purified personality, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami came to Radhakund at a very early age, about 18, 19 years old. We have the pastime from his place in Bengal, Jamatpura, where Mini Caitanya Ram was offended and his brother was supporting him, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj became very angry with his brother publicly, and that night he had a vision of Baladev coming on a beautiful chariot with a palm leaf on his flag and so on. This person who was swaying like he was drunk in a blue costume, and he told him, go to Vrindavan straight away. So this took place when Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj was about 18 or 19 years old. It can be very misleading, and I have to say this again, I've said it before, but we have one painting in the English publications, and it looks like Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is an old man. I can post it afterwards, the painting. And when he's witnessing this dream, he's depicted with grey hair and sort of like old features, but he's not. We went to his birthplace, this Jamatpur, and they told us immediately that Krishnadas Kaviraj left when he was in his late teens. That's how old he was. So for that amount of time, practically like 90 years old, when he's writing the Chaitanya Charita, he's describing his hands are trembling, his eyesight is less, he doesn't even know how he's managing to write. He's very elderly. So from 20 years old till about 90 years old. So how's that? 70 years practically. He's staying in Radhakund with Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, hearing all of these descriptions of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri that have come also from the heart of Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar Lalita Sakhi in Krishna Lila, the principal personality who was controlling any rasabas that could come in the ears of Mahaprabhu, giving all the conclusive siddhantas. We know in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, in this verse, Shri Radha Krishna, Shri Radhaya Pranayama, no, Radha Krishna, no, this Shri Radhaya Pranayama, Kidrisha Vanaiva, no. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Hladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmanava Piguva. This is I think it's the 6th verse. This is written actually by Swarup Damodar. And the next verse is also written by Swarup Damodar. These two verses together, this Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima, both these verses, because these verses are the first 6 verses, 7 verses of the Chaitanya Charitamrita are very important. The 4th verse, Anapita Chirim Chirat, this is written by Rupa Goswami. And then the 5th verse is written by Sanatana Goswami. And the 6th verse, not Sanatana Goswami, Swarup Damodar. And then the 7th verse is also written by Swarup Damodar. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Hladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmanavi. Yes, this verse. Right. So Swarup Damodar is the powerful personality to describe all these truths were in his throat, his kadachas. And Raghunath Das is opening all this to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj through such a length of time. So, okay, now we come to this part. Just complete this. Oh, I finished that?
No.
Swarup Damodar Goswami, who is an eternal associate of the Lord, is the foundation for this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's Swarup Damodar, because Swarup Damodar, he's imparted the truths into the heart of Raghunath. And then Raghunath is imparting to Srila Krishna's Kaviraj. Commenting on this section of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Amrita Pravasya, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami is one of the most intimate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has described the final pastimes of Sriman Mahaprabhu in his notebook, or Kadacha, in the form of condensed anecdotes or sutras. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami memorized all those notes. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami heard those notes directly from him and expanded upon them in composing his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In this regard, the author wrote elsewhere,
Swarupa Goshani Kada Chaya Ye Lila Likila Raghunath Dasa Mukhe Ye Sabha Shunila Se Sabha Lila Kahi Sankshepa Kariya Chaitanya Kripate Liki Kshudra Jivahana.
This is from the Until Leela 3. So the Until Leela is the final parts of this book. So I have heard from the mouth of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami all about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Swarup Damodar Goswami recorded in his notebook. I have briefly described those pastimes. Whatever I have written is by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, since I am an insignificant living being. So this is our praman. So right from the very beginning, my Gurudev in his introduction is giving this. So we'll stop here today. Our time is over. But I've tried to give a synopsis on Mahaprabhu's movements out of Navadvip. We haven't really gone into discussing his moods significantly in Navadvip, but I've just touched on them. He wasn't tasting this Sakhi Bhav in Navadvip. He was approaching it in a mood of Mahabhav. He fully is imparted that mood of Sakhi Bhav on the Godavari. So see the whole picture. See where we're going and have the broadness to appreciate the entirety and speciality of this remarkable Samvad. So tomorrow we'll read something about Srila Krishna's Kaviraj also, his birth, etc., which are fascinating to hear. And then we'll just complete something of my Gurudev's introduction here. And then tomorrow we'll begin on the first question that Mahaprabhu, he requests Rai Ramananda to ask him, what is the ultimate truth in life? What is the... Because we have a beautiful book here that we're going to use also in search of the ultimate goal of life, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So this is also, we can relate to both of these books beautifully in our study. Okay, I hope it's been clear what I've been saying. I've said a lot of things, I think, but I've tried to make a picture, make a sort of background to where we're going so we can be comfortable hearing these truths over the next few weeks. So now we'll come to our topic of Rai Ramananda Sangvad, and I'd like basically to spend most of our time reading this book. It'll take some time, some weeks to get through it, but the purport, the end conclusion is so profound, it's just so ecstatic, and the systematic way that it's laid out with Mahaprabhu's questions and the answers by Ramananda Roy, leading to this Prem Vivart Vilas is where it ultimately is going to lead to, and such a description of the Sakhis in particular, how we cannot have this Rag Marg service to this Raganuga Bhakti without the mercy of the Sakhis. The Sakhis must be there. Radha and Krishna are depending on the Sakhis for their meetings. What to speak of the devotees who want to go in that direction? We have to depend on the Sakhi's mercy. So we are in the Anugatya of the Sakhi. So this is explained clearly towards the end of this. So everything is packed in, just like we did previously Damodarastakam, and before that Jayavardhana. And in these Shastras, when we go through them, unfold them, then we find that all the conclusive truths are there. And when we come at them from different perspectives, then clearer and newer, fresher. It's the same topic, but newer and fresher realizations will come from that. So this is the mercy of our Guru Varga. So the last thing yesterday we were reading was on page 14 in the introduction, and we were glorifying Raghunath Das and his instructions to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. We were glorifying Krishnadas Kaviraj for enumerating, giving us this conversation between Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu. So at the top of this page, I'll just reiterate what we read yesterday. I have heard from the mouth of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami all about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Swarup Damodar Goswami recorded in his notebook. I have briefly described those pastimes. Whatever I have written is by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, since I am an insignificant living being. So every word is basically being transmitted from Mahaprabhu in this Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's not the words of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. He, like, is the instrument. It's actually Madan Mohan is directing him, which he's going to say himself. So this is the humility that any person writing about pure Vaishnava topics has to be tightly in this anugatya, in this current of bhakti, to present these truths in the world. So it's saying, after this, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took birth in West Bengal, village of Jamatpur, which is near the well-known Naihati railway station. He did not mention anywhere the name of his mother or father, his previous childhood name, or his status in terms of his caste, varna, or social position. So the acharyas are like this. They don't go into their purva sanskars, their previous impressions from their material life, etc. They actually just leave them behind. Based on indications in his own writings and the literatures of others, we surmised that he was present in this world. Now, this is definitely a mistake here. It's not 1452 that would put him as older than Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was born in 1486, so he's certainly not older than Mahaprabhu. And he certainly didn't leave in 1538, because Mahaprabhu leaves in 1534. So the dates, the real dates, you should cross out this in your books. It's 1496, which puts him as 10 years older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 1496, leaving this world in 1588. If you look on Uncle Google, this is what comes up there. So, but this is also written in different scriptures, these dates. So 1496, 10 years older than Mahaprabhu, and leaving this world 1588. Mahaprabhu leaves in 1534. So 1588, we can understand the age. So 1496 to 1588 is what? 88, 92 years old, which is the mood or the understanding we get from hearing about his own debilities. His eyesight is going, his hands are trembling and so on while he's writing. So you can change that in your books, 1496 to 1588. In regard to the identity of his caste, there is a difference of opinion among various learned persons. The Vaishnava Society awarded Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami the title Kaviraj, King of Poets, not doctor, that's a Vaidya-raj. That is a Kavi-raj, as the king of poets, for his significant contribution of poetic Sanskrit, Sri Govinda Lilamrita. In Bengal, Ayurvedic doctors are also called Kaviraj, so he's not a doctor. For this reason, some people assume that he was also a doctor by caste. No, he's not. I was fortunate enough to actually go to his birthplace one time, and it's very difficult to get to because there's practically no road going there. And his house is not particularly glorified. When we came in, there was washing hanging all over the place, and it's just a regular household with goats and so on walking around in the house. But just outside the house, there's a memorial stamba with the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu, and mentioning Srila Krishna's Kaviraj there. But this is where I understood from the people there, from the relatives, the descendants, that Srila Krishna's Kaviraj had definitely left when he was in his 20s, early 20s, or more like a late teens. That was actually when he left his household. So he spent practically 70 years in Radhakund. This is where he was instructed by Baladev Prabhu in that vision that he had to go to Radhakund. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami perfectly exemplified the verse Trinada Pi Sunichena in the Shikshastikam 3. In other words, he possessed all the qualities of a humble Vaishnava. He himself writes in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita,
Jagai madai haite mui se papishta, puri se rakita haite mui se lagishta, mora naam suniye tar punya kshaya, mora naam laya ye tar papa haya.
This is the Adi Leela, chapter 5. I am more wicked than Jagai and Madai, and even lower than the worm in stool. Anyone who hears my name loses the results of his pious activities, and anyone who takes my name incurs sin. This is very powerful submission, mood of extreme humility. One who is truly great in the world, like the greatest personality is Sri Radhika, and she is described as also being the most humble. So this quality of humility is beautifully reflected out of the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami. The respected author identifies Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, the eternal associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as his spiritual master.
Sri Govinda, Sri Chaitanya, Sri Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Sri Bhakta, or Sri Strotra Vrinda, Sri Swarupa, Sri Rupa, Sri Sanatana, Sri Raghunatha Dasa, Sri Guru Sri Jiva Charana, Iha Sabha Charana Kripa, Ya Lekha Ya Mare, Ar Eka Hoy Teho, Ati Kripa Kare.
And this is from the Antya Leela, chapter 20. This is the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He is saying, I have written this book by the mercy of the lotus feet of Sri Govinda Dev, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, and other devotees. And the readers of this book, as well as Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is my spiritual master, and Srila Jiva Goswami, the Supreme Personality, has also favored me. Oh, a Supreme Personality has also favored me. So all of these personalities, he's giving them. So we're connecting with the current straight away, like the Adi Leela is all these tattvic descriptions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We have to be, like yesterday we discussed the movements of Mahaprabhu. This was to develop a broader perspective of where we're going here and what are the moods that Mahaprabhu is hoping to achieve, you can say. He has his three desires to be fulfilled. Shri Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanaiva Swadyena Madhurima Kidrisho Madhya Sokyam Kasyam Mad Anubhavita Kidrisham Vidalopata. So these three desires Mahaprabhu is wanting to fulfill. This is the object of his birth. So we need to know the sequence of events where we're coming to. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ends nearly every chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by writing,
Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yara Ash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das.
Always praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath. For their mercy, I, Krishnadas Kaviraj, recite this Chaitanya Charitamrita. This connection with our Guru Varga is so essential to always be hooking in, connecting. Therein the author describes many jewels, such as Sri Shikshastikam, spoken by Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Rup Shiksha, Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Shiksha, Mahaprabhu's instructions to Sri Sanatan Goswami, Rai Ramananda Sangvad, Mahaprabhu's discussions with Rai Ramananda, and the questions and answers between Sri Gopinath Acharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Each of these discussions gives the essence of all the scriptures. Each of them contain a perfect description of the conclusive truths concerning Sambandha, one's relationship with Bhagavan, Abhideya, one's activities in that relationship, and Prayojan, the ultimate goal of life. So this is what we're going to discover, the ultimate goal of life. In the conversation between Rai Ramananda and Sriman Mahaprabhu, we're on page 16 now. In the conversation between Sri Rai Ramananda and Sriman Mahaprabhu, the prem of Srimati Radhika is established as the crest jewel of all attainments. Later in the conversation, Sri Ramananda Rai describes the very elevated state of devotional love called Prem Vilas Vivart. Prem Vilas Vivart is a high level of prem experienced by Srimati Radhika, when even at the time of separation from Sri Krishna, due to the influence of Adiruddha Mahabhav, Sri Radhika feels that she is meeting with him. This separation is not like we have in the material world where there's lamentation. This separation concludes in in meeting in the transcendental experience of that. This meeting, otherwise why would there be so much separation? Why does Krishna leave the gopis for 100 years at Uddhav Kyari? For many reasons. One of them is to increase their lobe, their greed for the ultimate union. So this nourishes. Separation itself is, Pralamba is a separate ras. It's a ras also, just like we have the Milan, meeting ras, we also have the separation ras. There's a mood there. This mood specifically is what Mahaprabhu has come to taste in the renounced order. We were describing that yesterday, that my Gurudev had said that practically Krishna never appears when Mahaprabhu has taken this renounced order. There's once or twice descriptions in the Jagannath Vallabha gardens in Puri, but practically Krishna doesn't appear, and Mahaprabhu is in that place of high separation, tasting this mohan, akya mahabhav, this mood of separation. Upon hearing of this supremely exalted state, Sriman Mahaprabhu accepted it as the soul's ultimate goal. Sriman Mahaprabhu also accepted that following in the footsteps of the Sakis of Braj is the only method by which to attain this ultimate goal. So we've already mentioned that without the mercy of the Sakis, without hearing about them, without crying for their mercy, Lalita, Vishaka, Champapalata, Tungavidya, Rangadevi, all the different personalities in the Sakis that are described. We want their mercy. By the way, Jiva Goswami is Vilasamanjari. I didn't mention that when I was mentioning about Jiva Goswami. So he Vilasamanjari. By hearing with complete faith this conversation between Sri Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one will achieve prema bhakti. So that is why we're reading this. This is why we're going through this. To the lotus feet of Sri Radha Krishna, and automatically, as a secondary result, one will also achieve complete knowledge of Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, Prem Tattva, and Rasa Tattva. These are all unpacked conclusively through here. These are so excellent truths. From this knowledge, the knowledge will come into the heart and mix. This Sangvit Shakti, knowledge potency, will come into the heart and mix with the Hladini Shakti. And then full Vigyan, full realization of these truths will manifest by the mercy of Sri Radhika and Krishna combined. The fundamental truths regarding the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, his eternal consort, Sri Radha, the love they share, and the varieties of exchanges between Sri Krishna and his intimate associates. Sri Ramananda Rai was the governor of the southern regions of the kingdom, ruled by the heroic Orisan king Maharaj Prataparudra, residing in Vidyanagar on the banks of the holy river Godavari, present-day Kubar. How do you say that? Kobura? Rajmundari.
Kubura Rajmundri.
Rajmundari, in Andhra Pradesh. He performed his administrative duties. On his journey to South India, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took darshan of Jaida Nrsingadev, after which he went to the bank of the Godavari for his early morning bath. Sri Ramananda Roy was also taking bath, appearing like royalty and surrounded by many Brahmins chanting Vedic mantras. So now we're coming into the Leela, the pastime of when this conversation took place. There they met and were thoroughly struck by each other. Sri Ramananda Rai invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spend a few days at that place. On his insistence, Sriman Mahaprabhu accepted the invitation and stayed on for several days at the house of a Vedic Vaishnava Brahmana. On the day of their meeting at dusk, Sri Ramananda Rai, wearing the dress of an ordinary person, returned to the bank of the river to meet Sriman Mahaprabhu, who instructed him to present statements from various Vedic literatures on both the living entities Sadhya, ultimate goal, and Sadhana, the process by which the goal can be attained. So we need to fix the goal, our compass, and how to achieve that compass, how to achieve that goal. Initially, Ramananda Rai suggested Varnashram as practiced by ordinary persons. Sriman Mahaprabhu finally accepted Jnana Sunya Shuddha Bhakti as the goal. Asked by Mahaprabhu to say more about Bhakti, Sri Ramananda Rai first explained pure attraction, devotional attraction to Sri Krishna. He then successively described love for Krishna in the mood of a servant, Dasya Prem, in the mood of a friend, Sakya Prem, and in the mood of a parent, Vatsalya Prem, and finally he explained Kanta Prem, the love of the female beloveds of Sri Krishna, as the essence of all ultimate attainments. On the platform of varieties of scriptural evidence, Ramananda Rai also showed how Kanta Prem is the essence of all perfection. So without an appreciation like in this introduction of where we're going with this, where we're going, why should you bother to read it from the beginning? It's just like Upadeshamrita, the first verse, Vasho Vegam Manasakrota. Why should we try to strongly control our senses if we don't know what is the sadhya? So actually, if you ever study this Upadeshamrita, we should read the 11th verse first, establishing what is Manjari Bhav. This is described in the 11th verse, and residing in Radha Kund. If we understand this, then everything else becomes very inspiring because we know where we're going. So here, my Gurudev is describing the goal before we actually come into the text of the questions and answers and so on. We have to be in the mood of where we're going with this Ramananda Rai Sangvar. Upon Sriman Mahaprabhu's acceptance of Kanta Prem as the soul's ultimate goal, we can translate this as Madhurya Prem also, Sriman Ramananda Roy went on to describe the Prem of Srimati Radhika as the topmost. Hearing this, Sriman Mahaprabhu became extremely pleased. He asked him to then describe the nature of Sri Krishna and Srimati Radhika, and also the nature of Rasa Tattva and Prema Tattva. Using examples from scripture as a basis, Sri Ramananda Rai gave the most detailed, sequential account of these topics. So a little further on, I'm just going to jump ahead to make this description. That is described that Mahaprabhu is like the ocean, and from the ocean, the sun is evaporating the moisture from the ocean and forming a cloud of purified drinking water. So this is described as being like Rai Ramananda. He becomes like the cloud, taking the essential water from the ocean, but coming through the medium of Ramananda Rai, who is Shaka in the spiritual. Then it becomes purified for our digestion, and then he comes against that cloud, hits the mountain of Mahaprabhu, and pours the water straight back onto Mahaprabhu. So this is a beautiful analogy, which will be described probably tomorrow, a little bit later, but I'm just putting that in here because we can appreciate this more when we're understanding how these truths are coming from. It seems they're coming from Ramananda Roy, but they originate from the ocean of Krishna. When Sriman Mahaprabhu instructed him to explain these subjects more extensively, Sri Ramananda Roy sang a self-composed song extolling the state of Prem Vilas Vibhart, which is comprised of the feelings of separation from Krishna experienced in Adiruddha Mahabhav. Adiruddha Mahabhav. So it's described at the bottom. We can look at this footnote. Adiruddha Bhav, the final limit of Mahabhav, which is the very essence of Krishna's pleasure-giving potency. Adiruddha Mahabhav is characterized by the feeling that each moment is like a day of Brahma when one is separated from Krishna, and the feeling that a day of Brahma is like a moment when one is meeting him. So time becomes completely distorted by the experience of this Adiruddha Mahabhav. But this Adiruddha Mahabhav is actually what Mahaprabhu is looking to taste. Krishna tastes, we've described many times, Mahabhav during the Ras Leela, because he's the Vishaya, he's the object of everyone's prem. But those who are tasting the prem experience a much higher taste of bliss. They experience Rudha and Adiruddha, these higher tastes. And my Gurudev many times gave the example of sugar and people wanting to taste the sugar and what nectar they get from tasting the sugar. But then what is left for the sugar itself? How is the sugar getting taste? So Mahaprabhu, Krishna is like the sugar and he wants to be the taster. So he takes the bhav and kanti, the moods of Sri Radhika, to taste himself. This is the analogy of that. After many nights, finally, upon the request of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Ramananda Rai established the exclusive cultivation of devotional service under the guidance of the Sakhis of Braj, to be the one and only method of attaining the ultimate perfection of Sri Radha Krishna's direct, loving service. It can only manifest under the guidance of the Sakhis. It's very wonderful. These topics are very, very confidential and secret. And they have their own way of keeping that confidentiality. Because if you're not hungry for this truth, you'll just become bored. You'll become restless. You'll actually won't be interested in it. Even sometimes people criticize it. It's like in English we have an expression, sour grapes. If you can't actually have it, then I'll criticize it. So it has its own wall. It has its own method of confidentiality. The scriptures are kept like that. Krishna's Kaviraj, he says himself, I think it's in the very first chapter of the Adi Lila, that he wants to describe these pastimes, and he's a little bit afraid because they're so confidential. But then he thinks the camels and asses, ass-like men who are not interested in these topics, they won't even listen to them. So therefore his heart is very joyful that he'll keep on speaking for those swan-like men whose hearts are interested in these topics. And then the doors will open, but they won't open to those who are not interested. Those who don't have cultivated a background of careful, sudden cultivation of putting Braja Prem on the front burner of their sadhya, their goal, that they won't have that interest. So automatically its confidentiality is maintained by that nature. Where did we get to? Oh, Sakis of Braj to be the one and only method of attaining the ultimate perfection of Sri Radha Krishna's direct loving service. After many nights of continuously hearing and discussing topics about Sri Radha and Krishna, upon receiving the direct darshan of Sriman Mahaprabhu's Mool Tattva, his own true identity as Sri Krishna, covered by the sentiments of the complexion of Sri Radha, and his Swarup, his form as a sannyasi, Rai Ramananda fell unconscious. So finally, Rai Ramananda has darshan of this Mahabhav Swarup, this manifested form of this highest Mahabhav is manifesting in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. With the supremely cooling touch of his lotus hands, Sriman Mahaprabhu roused him, and after releasing him from his embrace, forbade him from revealing his form and identity to anyone. But we have his form. It's on the internet. Millions of people can hear his form. So its confidentiality has been exposed. Nevertheless, as I've just said, people will not be interested unless they've got some mercy from a Mahabhagavat. It's the mercy of the Mahabhagavats, the gurus in our line, that are going to purify the heart and consciousness sufficiently to come in this direction. Mahaprabhu ordered Sri Ramananda Rai to abandon his royal responsibilities and go to live in Sri Jagannath Puri. He told him that after visiting various holy places in South India, he would return there to Sri Jagannath Puri, and together they would dwell in complete happiness, hearing and chanting topics of Sri Radha and Krishna's pastimes for the rest of their lives. So this topic becomes so delightfully tasteful that we want to immerse ourselves in this for the rest of our lives. There's nothing else sweeter or more blissfully satisfying for the heart than to hear the pastimes of the loving exchanges between Radha and Krishna. And we are benedicted by Mahaprabhu's mercy to actually go in this direction. Mahaprabhu has come to give us, it's described in the verse, Anapita Chirim Chirat, this Swa Bhakti Shriyam. Swa Bhakti, Krishna's own bhakti, and Shriyam, the beauty of Krishna's own bhakti. Krishna's own bhakti is Sri Radhika. Krishna is dedicated to Sri Radhika. That's his bhakti, that's his devotion and worship. And the beauty of that bhakti is the beauty in the moods of the manjaris, who are dedicated 100% with this mood. It's called Bhavolas. Their sthai bhav is only service to Sri Radhika. With all their heart and souls, they just want to serve Sri Radhika. But Sri Radhika's desire is to unite with Krishna. So the manjaris, they love Krishna because he's pleasing Sri Radhika, because it's Sri Radhika's desire to be with Krishna. But they first have their focus on pleasing Sri Radhika. So this is what Mahaprabhu has given the conditioned jivas at this particular, in this most fallen Kali Yuga, we've been invited by the Supreme Golden Avatar, the Yuga Avatar of this age, Mahaprabhu, to directly enter into these most confidential, remarkable pastimes. If our faith can be inspired sufficiently in our previous acharyas and their words, and under their guidance, we can walk into this world of Braja Prem. And Mahaprabhu has also given us the ingredient of how to purify ourselves quickly, because time is very short. We only have maximum less than 100 years in this age. And he's given us the Mahamantra. He's given us, the Mahamantra has always been there, but Mahaprabhu has empowered the Mahamantra at this particular time in this age. This Hare Krishna mantra has been empowered. So if the conditioned jiva takes shelter of this, scripture is packed full of glorification of the holy name. Everywhere it's describing the glorification of the holy name. And throughout Namna Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, these verses are, so many verses are described there, glorifying, as it Kaler Dosha Nidhi Rajan Asti Heko Mahagunam Kirtanad Eva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Parambrajet, that this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, but by the mercy of Kirtan, that our lives can be revolutionized, can be completely changed. So I'm just going to quickly look at the different verses of Nam that we can meditate on. But there are so many that we can consider. Non-tattva verses. So this holy name is what is going to give us access. So Mahaprabhu has given us this wealth. So I'm going to stop a little bit early tonight, and tomorrow I want to begin the description of my Gurudev's entering into this conversation with Ramananda Roy, starting from page 2 of this book. But I'd prefer just to start this at the beginning of the class, and we'll start that tomorrow. So we'll stop here, but what we've tried to do is to present a visual-like context of Mahaprabhu's movements initially, then his traveling in South India, and then his coming to meet Rai Ramananda, and what is going to be the final conclusion. This is what my Gurudev has described in his introduction. He's given us clearly what is going to be the conclusion, what is the sadhya, because the first initial request of Mahaprabhu is, tell me what is the ultimate goal of life. What is the ultimate goal of life? It's not moksha, liberation. This is going to be described. And it's not varnashram, making a nice material situation. It's nothing to do with this material world at all. It's actually to access the current of pure spiritual potency, which is emanating ultimately from the lotus feet of Sri Radhika in her service to Sri Krishna. And all her Kaya Vyuha, all the Sakhis, they are all having the same mood as Sri Radhika, this hunger for service to Brajendrananda and Shyamsundar. They're all blessed with the same moods. All of her Kaya Vyuha, they all have that same current of anxious hunger and desperation to please Krishna, to pacify his calm. So this is what they all have, that same mood. So we'll stop here for today, and tomorrow we'll continue this topic and dive more deeply into the details of the path that are going to be chalked out. So Rai Ramananda Samvad Ki Jai. So we'll begin reading through here this Rai Ramananda Samvad book by my beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And it'll be interspersed with, of course, the actual commentary by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. And also, as I've said before, I'll be injecting some of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's beautiful comments from this little book, In Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life, which was actually compiled before he even came to the West. Very, very beautiful compilation. So far, we've described Mahaprabhu's movements from Navadvip. His taking sannyas, his leaving from Shantipur, and his traveling with those four personalities, Nityananda, Damodar Pandit, Jagadananda Pandit, and Mukunda Datta, and traveling to Puri Dham, and then purifying Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and staying in Puri Dham for 3 or 4 months, it's described, and then he leaves for his South Indian tour, and then he travels through many places which are illuminated by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, and then he comes to the Godavari, where he meets Rai Ramananda. So this is where our story, this is where our this pastime begins. So on page 1 of this book, there is the Manglacarana. Now this Manglacarana, of course, is by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So he's chanting that. So I'll chant this and read the translation, and then we'll hear the Vivriti, the commentary by my Srila Gurudev. So this Mangalacharan is first. Sancharya Rama Buddha Bhakti Mage Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayam Ritani Gorabdi Eta Amuna Vitrinas Tajnatva Ratna Layetam Prayati. So this is written by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is a boundless nectarian ocean of established conclusions of devotion, Bhakti Siddhantas. And his devotee, Sri Ramananda Roy, is the cloud whom he filled with these conclusions about devotion to him. When Mahaprabhu experienced the rain of Bhakti Tattvas that the Ramananda cloud showered upon him, he was transformed into an ocean of jewels. So I touched on this a little bit yesterday when we were reading through the introduction. I described a little bit of this very graphic, beautiful analogy. Mahaprabhu is the ocean, and the water is evaporating and becoming purified so that the living entities can drink it. And then that purified water is showering back again onto the form of Mahaprabhu, who is manifesting so many jewels from the shower that he's experiencing from Ramananda Roy. Even though Mahaprabhu is inspiring all this into the heart of Ramananda Roy, still when he hears it back again, it reminds me of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada when he wrote his books. Many times he would be seen reading his own books because they're very beautiful, because the personality who's actually speaking, in this case Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, would be empowered. So when he's reading back the empowerment that he wrote, it's very much nectarian for him. So similarly, Mahaprabhu becomes totally ecstatic hearing these original truths, because each time you hear these truths, they expand. This is an eternal Siddhanta philosophy that we're going to be going through. So the nature of these philosophies is that we can hear them forever, and they're never repetitive, or there's an expression, hackneyed. which means like over and over again. Like they're never like that. How many times have we heard repetition of so many tattva siddhantas, so many philosophies, again and again? We need that in Kali Yuga because our brains don't catch, and hold on to these truths. So we need that repetitive pounding of these truths. So now, my friend Bilbaji, he will read the Vivriti, which is written by my Gurudev, an introduction. This is his Manglacarana to his commentary.
Sri Sri Guru Gaurangau Jayataha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragnana Keshava iti namine Atimatrya Charitraya Swasritancha Paline Jiva Dukke Sadatraya Srinama Premadayine Gaurashraya Vigrahaya Krishna Kamaikacharine Rupanuga Pravaraya Vinodeti Swarupini Prabhupada Antarangaya Sarva Sadgunashaline Mayavada Tamognaya Vedantartha Vide Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati iti namine Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Yena Vistarito Graura Kripaya Rasasagara Vishakika Swarupam Tvam Ramanandamaham Bhaje Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha.
Very beautiful. Thank you. The resonance and sound vibration of these mantras is so purifying. It's interesting that here is the mantra for Ramananda Rai himself. It's Yena Vistarito Gaura Kripaya Raso Ragarha. This is the mantra for Ramananda Rai. So I'll read this translation. Millions and millions of times I reverently place my head at the lotus feet of my most venerable holy master, Om Vishnupad Asto Taratara Shishimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. Only by his causeless mercy and inspiration has a person as fallen as I am being able to write this vivriti or commentary on the discussion between Sri Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I also repeatedly offer my obeisances to the spotlessly pure transcendental lotus feet of the universal preceptor, Srila Prabhupada Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and to the lotus feet of Srila Satchid Ananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who is the Bhagirati of the Bhakti Bhagirat, the Ganges river of pure devotional service. He is addressed thus because just as Bhagirat Maharaj ushered the descent of the river Ganges to this world, Bhaktivinoda Thakur restored the flow of the Ganges river of pure devotional service as inaugurated by Srimad Mahaprabhu. Thus, Srila Bhaktivinoda's feet bestow pure devotion. Both these great personalities have manifested the very deep, confidential essence of the Sri Ramananda Rai Samvad. Through their respective commentaries on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, namely Anubhasya and the Amrita Pravaha. So without this type of honor to the source of your inspiration to present a commentary of authority to the world. What is the authority in the world? Our authority is Srimad Bhagavatam. Our authority is the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that authority flows through our Guru Varga. So we begin with Rupa Goswami all the way through. And we particularly Bhaktivinoda Thakur is referencing here. He initiated this flow. We know many times we've spoken about how it seemed like the current had stalled somewhat after Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he broke open those dams and he invigorated is the word, or inaugurated, or no, he invigorated this current of Shuddha Bhakti. For us today, without this pastime of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, without Bhaktivinoda Thakur's opening this out, we would not have what we have today. He took so many granthas that were locked in Sanskrit and he wrote them in the local vernacular of Bengali. And then from there they were translated into Hindi, and then from the Hindi they were translated into English. So without Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we wouldn't be having this knowledge today. And my Gurudev is taking all this and presenting it to us. I surrender myself in turn at the lotus feet of Sri Ramananda Roy, who is Vishaka Saki in the pastimes of Braj, and who expanded the ocean of Ras, transcendental mellows, by the mercy of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Immediately we want to be in Braj consciousness. Our sadhya is Braja Prem. This is what Mahaprabhu has come to give us, to gift us. So we want to keep our consciousness there. So Ramananda Rai is Vishaka, very clearly, who we said the other day is born at exactly the same moment as Sri Radhika, the same moment. So she's going to inspire Sakhi Bhav, which is dormant in the heart of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu has that in potential because he's taken it from Sri Radhika. That's why he's come. But it needs to be inspired. That's the chain. Always, Guru will inspire. All the way through, Mahaprabhu was inspired initially towards devotional service, it seems, by Ishwarapuri. Without Ishwarapuri there, and Ishwarapuri was inspired by Madhavendra Puri, etc. Always the line, always that current has to be pronounced and clear. And then we know it's bona fide, especially in this age today, where there's so many mixtures of different sort of hodgepodge philosophies taken and so on. We are so fortunate in this Gaudiya line because we have it absolutely. There's no divergence from the current. It's very, very clear. And we're reaching right back to Vishaka Saki. Immediately, we're hearing her, about her. Finally, while holding in my heart Sri Sachinandan Gaurahari, who is Sri Krishna, covered by the complexion and sentiments of Srimati Radhika, I begin to write this Vivriti commentary on Sri Ramananda Sangvad. So this is his respectful proclamation of his identity. He's following in the line of Srimati Radhika. So Sancharya, we're referencing now this first Manglacarana by Srila Krishna's Kaviraj that we've just chanted. This Sancharya at the very beginning. This is the first verse. So now he's going to describe the words, the anubhavs of these description, these words. So Sancharya, infusing. This is what the word means, infusing. It is common knowledge that water evaporates from the ocean by the heat of the sun. The resultant vapor, having been purified of the ocean's salty nature, transforms into a cloud. When this cloud passes over a forest or collides into a mountain, the same water falls as rain and again returns to the ocean. Should that rain fall at the time of the Swati constellation, nakshatra, the oysters in the ocean, accepting this rainwater, produce pearls. The ocean, now filled with precious stones, becomes known as the abode of jewels, Ratnakara. So this is beautiful, like a painting. We should have, I haven't seen a painting of this beautiful analogy. You can do, Shama. You can do. With this metaphor, the author conveys that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the ocean of the jewels of Bhakti Siddhanta, and Sri Ramananda Roy is the rain cloud filled with ambrosia. This Mahaprabhu, who is the unlimited ocean of the truths about bhakti, has covertly infused the heart of Sri Ramananda Roy with the vapor of the nectarine flow of mellows in servitorship, dasya, friendship, sakya, parenthood, vatsalya, and conjugal relationship, madhurya ras. So Mahaprabhu has infused already into the heart of Ramananda Roy, who's going to pour it back on him. This incomparable flow of nectar rained into the oysters, this metaphor, of Mahaprabhu's ears, when they transformed into the precious jewels of Siddhantas, which the Lord drank. Thus he became an ocean laden with jewels of Bhakti Siddhanta. This is the preciousness of this Sangbad that we're entering into. It's loaded with Siddhanta, loaded from top to bottom. It's like a mine. You can just keep taking jewels out of it endlessly. The meaning emanates directly from Sri Ramananda Roy himself. Sri Ramananda Roy spoke the following essential statement.
Yeta tattva mora chitte kaile prakashana brahma ke veda yena padaile narayana antaryami ishwarera ye riti hai bahire na kahe vastu prakashe hridaye.
So this is from the Madhya Lila, chapter 8, where we are reading from now, Chaitanya Charitamrita. You have manifested all these transcendental truths in my heart, just as Narayan educated Lord Brahma, the Supreme Lord, dwelling within everyone's heart, speaks not externally but from within, and in this way he gives instructions. So Tene Brahma Kridaya Adi Kavaya. This personality of Lord Brahma was inspired in the heart to speak to Narad. Narad is speaking to Vyas. Vyas is speaking to Shukadev. Shukadev is speaking to Parikshit. We have the line again, the fixed, beautiful, specific line. Very comforting for the Vaishnavas in this age of Kali, where everything is mixed. Everything is all over the place. I mean, no one has any higher intelligence in society, basically. They're worried about economic development, principally, or moksha, if they're more liberated, or merging into the Brahman. But how many Vaishnavas are concerned with picking up the jewels that Mahaprabhu has distributed in this age? Very, 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 very few. How many people in Bangalore altogether? What's the population? About a few million, obviously. And how many people are interested in these topics genuinely? There will be many devotees who are chanting, etc., but how many have caught up the spirit of, which means the eagerness? There must be this utsaha, this lobe we described yesterday. Without this utsaha or lobe, you cannot actually enter into the Shastra. You can't actually uncover the jewels that are there. Therefore, they're protected. They're automatically protected by this, like a wall. Unless you're empowered by your Gurudev with enthusiasm to enter here, you won't be able to do that. So, Rama Bida Bhakta Mega. The crown jewel of Rasik, Sri Ramananda Roy, is the eternal associate of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, who is the unfathomable ambrosial ocean of Bhakti Siddhanta. This cloud-like devotee, known as Ram, is supremely enchanting, desirable, alluring, and delectable. The choice of the adjective bhakta in this verse signifies that it is only in the hearts of devotees that the truths about devotion, bhakti tattva, can manifest. This is what we've just said. It's only those people who are sober, are practicing their sadhana bhajan, are serious about their connection with Radha and Krishna and their seva to please Sri Guru and our Guru Varga, all are these personalities, then you can't enter. It's the door is locked. I mean, it's an amazing chemistry that Krishna has arranged. The whole phenomenal material universe is an amazing construction, so to speak. When you look at it, everyone is suffering due to their various past karmas. Whatever you've done in your previous lives, you're reaping the benefit of that now. Nobody is at fault except ourselves. And any disturbance or calamity that falls upon us, we know fully. We take responsibility for our own suffering. We don't say, oh, Krishna, why are you doing this? Krishna, why are you doing that? This will be a weakness that we don't appreciate, the reality that I'm the one responsible. Always, always, always. And by my pious activities, wealth will come. And if I didn't perform any pious activities previously, then I will be poverty-stricken. So everything is orchestrated. It's an amazing science. We have no confusion in our lives. It all just makes sense, you know? So when it makes sense like that, our higher intelligence wakes up to respond to that sense. And again, we go further and further into the consciousness of higher intelligence. No one else has the ability to bear the power that comes from these truths. What a beautiful line. No one else has the power to bear these truths. These truths are so profound. You have to be devotional to hold these truths. The mind has to become steady by our practices. If the practice is steady, then the mind will be equipoised. Then we'll be able to retain these truths when they land on us. By chanting, perhaps many times we get realizations coming. But can we hold them? Are we able to sit with them and develop them and expand them and submit them to Srila Gurudev's lotus feet for clarification? Gurudev is always there, never leaves us. And his Gurudev never leaves him. And his Gurudev never leaves him. So it's an unbroken chain that we've connected with. I mean, it's so sublime. This is the truth. It's saying here, no one else has the ability to bear the power that comes from these truths. Sriman Ramananda Roy is that devotee cloud who can carry the weight of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own Bhakti Siddhanta and then distribute it to others as rainfall. These Siddhantas have great weight because they have great gravity. This gravity is a weight that there's definite. I mean, when you think of a very profound, clear truth, there's a gravity that comes with that to have realization of that. So, who can carry the weight of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own Bhakti Siddhanta and then distribute it to others as rainfall? So this is the responsibility of all the devotees, that once we experience or have realizations of these truths, then we can liberally share them and impart them in a compassionate way in this dark age of Kali, where everyone is suffering. But I say compassionate, not that we berate or we become critical or judgmental, but understand the poverty-stricken condition of most of the populace, that they've had no access to hearing these truths. Their previous sanskar, their karma, doesn't allow them. It hasn't allowed them so far. So how can we possibly criticize something like that? It's not their fault that they're doing it. It's like children. Children do all kinds of crazy things. You can't criticize them for something like that. After this shower of devotion was collected by the ocean of devotional sentiments in that devotee's heart, this rain of devotion bestowed an even more astonishing, indescribable taste for Mahaprabhu to experience. This is what we said in the beginning. Just like I gave the example of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, hearing his books being spoken back to him. So Mahaprabhu is tasting the sweetness of his own truths, reiterated, spoken by the pure soul of Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai was Vishakasaki. We're going to hear later in Chaitanya Charitamrita how when Pradumna Mishra, he wanted to hear about Rasatattva from Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. Mahaprabhu sends him to Ramananda Rai. He's told the first time he goes there to wait, because Ramananda Rai is engaged in service. What service? He's massaging and oiling the bodies of the Jagannath Devis, Dasis. Yes, to perform the beautiful Nataka, the beautiful Jagannath Nataka song dances that he has composed. So they're very specific moods. And he's doing this. He's an older man, and he's doing this with young girls in a very secluded place. Only someone like Ramananda Rai can do like that. It's described explicitly, even having to touch their private parts and so on. And Mahaprabhu says only someone of this caliber, he sees them like as wooden dolls. He has no calm in him whatsoever. This is a rarity. This is Ramananda Rai who's going to shower these jewels back. This is the purity in this astonishing personality of Ramananda Rai. Really astonishing personality. So Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani, the nectarian collection of truths about the devotional service relating to himself.
Anarpita charim chirat karunaya avatirna kalau samarpayitum unnata ujjvala rasam swabhakti shriyam haripurata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita sada hridaya kandare spuratu va sachinandanaha.
This was our flag that we carried from Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. He gave us this verse, fully gave us this verse and explained it many, many times. And we should be constantly going over this verse in our minds to appreciate it. So this is from Adi Lila, first chapter, 4. This is written by, of course, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. Rupa Goswami Pad has given this in his introduction in Vidagdha Madhav. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj quotes this verse 3 times in his whole Chaitanya Charitamrita in honor of Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. Just like in the next 2 verses after this, 5 and 6, he's quoting directly from Swarup Damodar Goswami. The Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Hladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmanava Pipuvi Deha Veda Katoto Chaitanyayikam Prakatam Adana Tatvayam Chekyam Aptam Radha Bhav Dudisavalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. This is written by Swarup Damodar Maharaj. So he quotes Rupa Goswami, then Swarup Damodar Maharaj Goswami, and then again Swarup Damodar. This Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidri Shovanaiva Swadyenat vada madarima kidrishoga madhya. Sokyam kasyam mad anubhavatam kidrisham vidilovat. Tad bhavadya samajani sachigarabu sindhu gurindu. Both of these verses are by Swarup Damodar. So this is his line, this is who he's giving to us. It's very powerful, really, isn't it? Where it's all manifesting from. So may the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, Sri Gaura Hari, forever manifest spontaneously within the innermost core of your heart, adorned with the radiant splendor of molten gold. I've always appreciated the word your heart. He's not saying our hearts or my heart, but he's saying your heart. He's already in there. He's saying yours. He wants us. He has descended Avat Tirna in the age of Kali. Yes, Karuna Tina. In the age of Kali, with the radiant splendor of molten gold. He has descended Avartina in the age of Kali, by his causeless mercy to bestow upon the world that which has not been given for a long time. Chirat means a long time. How long? Do you remember? I've said it a few times already. 8,640,000,000 years. A whole day, a night of Lord Brahma. 8,640,000,000 years. The day is 4,320,000,000 years. That's the length of the day. And the night is the same. So 8,640,000,000 years. That's how long previously this avatar advented. He only comes once in the day of Lord Brahma. After Krishna. Every time after Krishna. Because no one understands who Krishna was. Krishna came, he's the Leela Purushottam. He's come to perform his Leelas in Vrindavan. And practically no one in Vrindavan, Mother Yashoda doesn't know what Krishna's doing. Nanda Baba certainly doesn't know what Krishna's doing. Practically none of the Gopas, they also don't know. Maybe a few Subal and understand something, Madhu Mangal, of course. But most are ignorant about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. So Mahaprabhu, only Mahaprabhu, has come to tell us about Krishna. Mahaprabhu is Prem Purushottam. He's come to taste the Prem of the Vrindavan pastimes. And by himself tasting it, he's able to distribute it. Because he's tasting it, so he's going to distribute it simultaneously. Because he's relishing what? He's relishing Vipralamba Bhav. We described already in the second 24 years of his life. Practically he doesn't see Krishna and it's all a mood of Vipralamba. So, and he's distributing this by demonstrating the height of this Adiruddha Mahabhav when he goes into these transformations, like a tortoise, like falls in the sea, all his limbs become elongated. And Raghunath Das Goswami is witnessing this, directly seeing this. And he is being guided by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Then he is carrying this treasure across to Radhakund, and he's imparting it into the heart of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, who's giving it to us today. So again, it's the chain. Where is all this coming from? Is it someone's imagination? It can't be. This is the absolute truth, the absolute reality. We have to be solidly fixed on our faith, completely strong in this regard.
The beauty of his own.
The beauty of his own brilliantly radiant Ujjvala Prem Ras Bhakti, service to the highest mellow of amorous love. This is what Mahaprabhu is tasting. Mahaprabhu is tasting this Unnata Ujjvala Ras himself. We are not eligible. We have nothing to do with that. That's between Radha and Krishna. We are serving this Swabhakti Shriyam. We are servants of that prem that Mahaprabhu is experiencing. That is the jiva's eligibility we have the adhikar for that, gifted by Mahaprabhu. And if we capitalize on the opportunity to increase that adhikar, we'll take his gift of the holy name. It's the holy name of Krishna, this Mahamantra we spoke a little bit yesterday. And so many references there. This holy name is so powerful. There was a verse I was trying to remember yesterday. I couldn't remember it, but then afterwards I remember. Etavane bilokeshmin pumsam dharma paroshmita bhakti yoge bhagavati tannamagranadipi. This verse is spoken by Lord Yamaraj in, what's the name of his kingdom? I forgot it.
Yamapuri.
Yampuri. Yes, so when the three Yamadutas returned from their conversation with the Vishnu Dutas in the Ajamil pastime, they were astonished that someone had contradicted Yamaraj's order and had the audacity to contradict that order. So they were questioning Lord Yamaraj. They were saying, who is this, these Vishnu Dutas? And Lord Yamaraj, is described, became completely ecstatic, because in his court he was able to praise the glory of the holy name. Because normally in that Yamapur, he can't praise the holy name. Yamaraj is one of the 12 Mahajans. So he's always wanting to praise the Lord, but he couldn't, because the association, who is he going to praise him to? But now he's got this opportunity, and it's described when he says this verse, that Etavan Evalokashmin Pumsam, for humanity, this whole, this Mahamantra for humanity. Pumsam, Etavan Evalokashmin Pumsam Dharma Paroshmita. This is the Dharma for all humanity. And then Etavan Evalokashmin Pumsam Dharma. Bhakti Yogam, it's saying this path of bhakti. And then Tan Nama Granadi Bi is embodied and encapsulated in this holy name. So even Lord Yamaraj is saying like this. This is what Mahaprabhu has given to us, the suffering jivas in this world. In this verse, the word Swabhakti refers to the supremely nectarian service performed in Swarasika Upasana. We remember from the discussion in our Damodarastakam, there's Swarasiki Upasana and Mantramayi Upasana. These two types of meditation. Mantramayi Upasana is something a little bit less than Swarasiki. Swarasiki is when we're meditating or chanting and pastimes come tumbling one after the other just through the consciousness. We're not focusing on any particular pastime. They're just coming spontaneously. And this place is higher than Mantra Upasana. Mantramayi Upasana is when I'm meditating on a single pastime, like I'm remembering Kalyanaga and the whole pastime, Mother Yashoda coming, Nanda Baba, and Krishna dancing on the hoods and the gopis. A huge, huge pastime. But that's Mantramayi Upasana, if I'm just thinking of one. But this Swarasiki, Swa, own rasa, is just being evoked. Yes, it's just coming, pouring out. So that's considered something higher. So I'll read the footnote here. Swarasiki Upasana, the pastimes of Sri Krishna, performed in various places of Golok Vrindavan, of many types. Therefore, the worship that is performed through the limbs of bhakti, such as remembering, hearing, and chanting about those pastimes, which flow one after the other, is called Swarasiki Upasana. One after the other, they're coming. So in this verse, the word Swabhakti refers to the supremely nectarian service performed in Swarasiki Upasana, under the guidance of the Manjaris. This is essential. It's under the guidance of the Manjaris, because our desire that we want to cultivate is to become the servant of the Manjaris, who are only focused on their service to Sri Radhika. Only this is the jiva's topmost goal. Before the advent of Sriman Mahaprabhu, no one had manifested this for the sadhaks. Very important line. I'm saying so many times that before Mahaprabhu, what was the principal gift that Mahaprabhu gave? He put Parakiya Ras Krishna dancing with other men's wives in a most respectable light. This Parakya Ras, the gopis and Sri Radha, is so respectable. Even Arundhati, the most chaste wife of Vasishtha. What about Anasuya, the famous chaste wife? She wants to have the mercy of the gopis. They are all honoring the gopis. If there's anything negative, because in this material world, the material parakya is abominable. Taking someone else's wife is abominable. And Krishna is performing that pastime. So this has to be really, people couldn't accept that. Shukadeva Goswami speaks about it in the 10th canto. But how many were able to digest that after he spoke it? Without Krishna coming again and explaining the nature and respectability of that parakya rasa. If we're trying to imitate, of course that's like death, that's like drinking poison, like trying to imitate Lord Shivji. But this parakya rasa is the most respectable. Na paryeham niravadya, niravadya, samyujam. This your devotion to me is impeccable, Krishna is saying. They've left their husbands and they've come independently of each other even to the dark forest at night to meet Krishna. They haven't thought that, oh, we're coming in a big group. They haven't sort of taken security or shelter in a group. They've come completely independently. They don't know that Yogamaya has replaced their bodies with replicas at home. They don't know that. So their husbands don't have even a whiff of envy or jealousy towards Krishna. They don't know that their young wives have gone to the forest. But then naturally, Maharaj Parikshit, he questions this. Maharaj Parikshit is from the Kuru dynasty. He's the most pure. He saw Krishna in the womb. He's a Mahabhagavat from birth. And he is questioning this for the sake of others. And how does Shukadeva Goswami reply? He says, Krishna is like fire. In fire is always most pure. We see the fire where Sita Devi was placed away from Ravan. And when she was reproduced from the purified fire, everyone could accept, yes, she's come from the purified fire. So fire is most pure. And it won't be contaminated even if you put a dead body into it. It doesn't contaminate the fire. Nothing can contaminate it. So Krishna's like that. But Krishna performs this pastime because he knows the distinction between Swakya. Swakya is the alternative to Parakya. The Swakya nature is in Dwarka, where they're married. And what is the defect of Swakya Ras? When you marry Swa, what does Swa mean? Swa means own. When you marry, you think, you look at your wife, you say, now you are mine. And the wife is looking at the husband, they say, now you are mine. Don't look anywhere else, look at me. It's like that, there's that sort of sense of ownership. Whereas in Parakya, para means other. There's no sense of ownership. So it's only dependent on the thread of pure love. That's what it's resting on. The power of their genuine love. There's nothing to be got from the relationship except to serve that beloved. There's nothing else. They're not expecting Krishna. They're his unpaid maidservants, they say in the Gopi Geet. We don't get any reward from you. Actually, we get so much trouble. You know, our elders, they're always like seeing to criticize us or judge us or something like that. We have to do everything secretly. It's like, it's such a difficult, they have to keep it under wraps, their love for Krishna. It's so difficult for them to actually perform that Parakya Ras. But that difficulty is what purifies their love. Because of the torturous difficulty. And in the end, they have 100 years of separation from Krishna. And they endure it. Krishna gives us this example of the gopis' tremendous endurance for separation. And they endure that. So the gopis are so excellent. And this is what we're going to hear about so much in this Ramananda Roy Sangvad. Because without the gopis, nothing can really transpire. Not even Radha and Krishna meeting without the gopis arranging. Lalita and Vishaka, they arrange for Krishna and Radha to meet every day. In regard to the execution of this Manjari Seva, Srimati Radhika becomes the object of her maidservant's permanent ecstatic emotion, Staibhav. This is actually called Bhav Olas. Bhav Olas is the term that is used for the Manjari's complete Staibhav, their fixation on service to Radhika. They love Krishna because Radhika loves Krishna, but their first focus is only on Radhika. This is very unique. And only Mahaprabhu has explained this. And now Ramananda Roy is going to explain it back to Mahaprabhu. He's going to put it in the ether, so to speak. He's going to put it in the sound atmosphere so that it'll continue through the age. And Sri Krishna becomes the object of the maidservant's transitory emotion that nourishes the Staibhav. So he's the Sanchari Bhav that nourishes the Staibhav. My Staibhav is towards Radhika, and the Sanchari Bhav is the secondary, or the Vyabhachari Bhav is the same, but that's the secondary mood. To the emperor is the Staibhav, that's the lake, everything is resting on there. And these transitory emotions come across the lake of that Staibhav, and they excite the relationship in a transitory way. But the permanent emotional connection is through the Staibhav. Understand? There are 33 Vyabhachari Bhavs, all different descriptions, and most of them sound quite negative materially, but you have to closely examine them. We can examine them as we go through. We discuss so many of these things in Jaivedama. In Jaivedama, all of these descriptions are there very clearly. The sadhak has to be, if he's inspired to serve Radha and Krishna, he should know how is Mahaprabhu describing our service to Radha and Krishna. Is there some fault in Mahaprabhu? He's come to give this esoteric ras sadhya, this goal. Is there any fault with that? If I don't want to hear this, the fault is with me. The fault is my lack of eligibility. Nothing to do with from their side. They are just trying to give me this incredible gift. And if I'm saying, no, I'm not qualified, okay, so you're not qualified, go away. Then it remains very confidential. That's our fault. It's not Krishna's fault. And Sri Krishna becomes the object of the maidservant's transitory emotion that nourishes the Staibhav. So it's secondary. In other words, primary fixation and focus is on Radhika. This is then called the Sanchari Bhav. In this service, the Manjaris lovingly tend to Sri Krishna because he is the love of Radha's life and gives her happiness. Thus, this Swabhakti Siddhant, sweet as nectar, is the philosophical understanding embodied in the followers of Sri Rupa Goswami, who established the Raganuga Rupanuga Siddhanta. This is the essence and foundation of the ultimate expression of love. So we are Raganugas. Anuga means to follow, and we're Rupanugas because we're following Rupa Goswami. And there's the third word that usually is connected, is the Ragatmikas. The Ragatmikas are those who are already, their Atma is soaked in Rag already. The Ragatmikas are like Lalita, Vishaka, Champakalata, Chitra, Tungavidya, Sudevi, Rangadevi, Indulekha, etc., all the Sakhis and Gopis. Actually, even Hanuman is a Ragatmika. Ragatmika doesn't just apply to the Gopis. Rag, this quality of Rag, this unwavering enthusiasm for affection to the object of my worship, devotion. Hanumanji is the pastime where he opens his heart and inside is Ram. This is Hanuman. He's also a Ragatmika. Anyway, that's just incidental. This is the essence and foundation of the ultimate expression of love. So I'm going to stop now because we've reached 6 o'clock. And the next paragraph, many things will come out. So I'd like just to leave that till tomorrow. I like to be punctual to begin, and I like to be reasonably punctual to end, conclude. So people sort of know, the length, etc. I find it helpful when I'm listening to speakers and I know how long they're going to speak for and so on. So Shri Ramananda Rai Sangvad Ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Commentary Ki Jai. So we're returning to our subject matter of Rai Ramananda Sangvad, and we're continuing from the Manglacarana chapter, which is at the beginning, and we're going to be reading from page 5. So the second paragraph on page 5 is where we reached last time. So now my Gurudev is unpacking the Manglacarana verse that Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj recites at the beginning of this Manglacarana. Sancharya Ramabhida Bhakta Mege. And it's a very beautiful description of Ramananda Rai becoming the cloud that's filled with the conclusions of devotion. And he's showering these, returning the shower of nectar onto the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is quite remarkable, the dynamic of this. Mahaprabhu is giving the kripa to Ramananda Rai, who's like the cloud, and then Ramananda Rai himself is returning it. And then from that return of the shower, Mahaprabhu is manifesting so many jewels. So this situation had to happen for the jewels to manifest. Mahaprabhu is already contained with all the jewels within him, but they don't manifest until the shower of rain is falling from Ramananda Rai, who is empowered by Mahaprabhu. So it's a cycle. It's quite a remarkable dynamic that's taking place here. So now in this paragraph, we've reached yesterday we were discussing something, reading here about Raganuga and Rupanuga Siddhanta. This is the essence and the foundation of the ultimate expression of love. So this ultimate expression of love is achintya for the conditioned soul until he enters into the different tattvas and starts to appreciate them fully. And then from that understanding, from that Sangvit Shakti, it's described in the 14th chapter of Jayavadama that the Sangvit Shakti is like the knowledge potency, like Krishna Tattva. When that is melting into the heart, mixing with the Hladini Shakti, with Sri Radhika, then realization of these truths will come. Then they'll no longer be so out of reach to the conditioned souls. He'll connect with them. And we're going to discuss this today. So in this second paragraph, pure devotion, or bhakti, is always supremely relishable because it is joyful by nature. The possessor of this bhakti, which culminates in Mahabhav, is Sriman Mahaprabhu himself. So this Mahabhav is not at the state of Madanakya Mahabhav. We've described before, there's Mahabhav, then there's Ruda and Adiruda, these higher stages, and then Madanakya Mahabhav. This is only experienced by the Ashraya, relishing the object, the Vishaya, who is Krishna. We gave the example a couple of days ago of the sugar. Everyone is experiencing bliss, tasting the sweetness of sugar. But what about sugar itself? It can't get the same taste itself unless it becomes the taster. The taster is the Ashraya. That is in the form of Radhika, that Swarup Shakti and all her Kaya Vyuha. They are tasting, relishing this sweetness, divine sweetness of Sri Krishna. And now in the form of Mahaprabhu, he wants to experience that. He's come as the Ashraya. He's carrying this Sakhi Bhav within him, but it hasn't blossomed out fully until the culmination of this Rai Ramananda Sangbad. This is when this Sakhi Bhav is going to manifest. So pure devotional bhakti is always supremely relishable because it is joyful by nature. The possessor of this bhakti, which culminates in Mahabhav, is Sriman Mahaprabhu himself. The ocean of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu contains no trace of saltiness. Rather, it is full of ambrosial devotional mellows, rasa. An ocean such as he has no deficiency in the ocean of Mahaprabhu. It's complete in every respect and is free from dangerous creatures such as sharks and crocodiles, meaning fruitive action, karma, ritualistic worship, upasana, and empirical speculative knowledge, gyan. So all these are great impediments in the devotee's path to purifying his existence, to wake up and realize his original relationship with Krishna. This kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya bhav sasaranabhida nitya siddhyasya bhavasya prakritam hiti sadhyate. Prakritam means potential. This potentiality is residing in the heart of the jiva, but it doesn't wake up. And I've given many times the example of fire within wood. All wood contains fire, but that wood can never ignite until another piece of fire that is already lit touches it, and then it can ignite. Similarly, this potential for Shuddha Bhakti in the heart of the jiva can never ignite until another realized soul is waking up that potentiality. The fire has to be ignited by someone who's already on fire. A guru. Guru is a fire. He is that fire. Our Guru Varga is fueling this fire. So we have to connect with that to wake up our potential. This ocean, filled with unending varieties of nectar, is most attractive to the heart. There's a beautiful verse from the Vedanta Sutra, and it's saying, Taraka Pratishta Anart. Jiva Goswami, he quotes this verse, and it's saying, when the Lord's inspiration comes, the mind will know, the heart will feel, and the soul will celebrate. It's a very beautiful expression. I'll say it again, that the Lord's inspiration comes. We don't have to be told. We are realizing this beauty and speciality of bhakti. It'll manifest in such a way when the Lord's inspiration comes through our Guru Varga, through Guru, through the Vaishnavas, the mind will know it. It'll start in the mental quantum, and then it will come into the heart, as we've already described. And then from there, the soul itself will celebrate. So it's a nice expression. Taraka Pratishta Anat. This is from the Vedanta Sutra. There are no large, treacherous, deafening waves. Instead, they are gently billowing waves of meeting and separation. Yes, the highs are like the meeting, and the valleys, the depths are like the separation. So they're always going on continually. I've described many times how in Vrindavan itself, it's completely divided into the 24 hours of the day are divided into 8 yamas. And these yamas, they scroll through the meeting and separation. We can begin with Nishanta Lila, that is complete meeting with no elders. And then it goes to Prata. There might be meeting, but there's elders around, so it's not flourishing. Then there's Purvana, when Krishna takes the sakas into the forest. And perhaps the gopis are witnessing this pastime. So there's a meeting of the eyes, but it's not full-blown meeting. It's very flickering, it's very, it just incites the desire for meeting, which they do in the next yama, which is Madhyana Lila. In the Madhyana Lila, which lasts for 5 hours, is when it's full Milan, full meeting, Sambhog. And there's no restriction. No one can enter Radha Kund, practically. Sometimes Jyotila seems to break through in the pastimes and Leelas, but generally speaking, it's no one can make it, because the Yogamaya, Purnamasi Devi and Vrinda Devi are fully protecting that. So that's 5 hours of meeting. So we've had 5 hours of meeting, and we've had just a bit more than 2 hours in Nishanta Leela. And then there's Apurvana Leela. Again, there's no full connection. And then there's Syayam Leela, when Krishna returns with the cows. And then there's meeting by eyes, when the gopis are in the Chandrashalas, when they're in the watchtowers and they're seeing Krishna return with his beautiful curly hair and his turban covered in grey dust of the clouds, wearing a beautiful garland with not a drop of dust on it, because Subal is on one side, Madhumangal on the other. Every time a piece of dust comes on the garland, they flick it off. So it's a radiant, bright garland. So Krishna is wearing that with great relish, and he's seeing the gopi. But it's not union. It's not like sambhog. It's like a fleeting connection with their eyes. And then from there, it goes from the Syayam Leela, it goes to Pradosh Leela, where Krishna is taking his meal with Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, or the cowherd boys again. Then they go to the collective community like entertainment, where they have dramas, Ram Leela, beautiful bhajans, dancing. All these are performed in the evening time. This is Pradosh Leela. Then after Pradosh Leela comes the union, then comes the Ratri Leela. This is the final Leela. This is the 8 yamas of the day. So it's divided explicitly into 12 hours meeting and 12 hours separation, as we've described in the life of Sachinandan Gaura Hari. He has 24 years in Navadvip. He has 24 years in Puri, where he's practically experiencing a mood of separation the whole time. So again, it's that same meeting, and the subject matter of meeting and separation is divine to open up and discuss. This is a very, very sacred topic. Many twists and turns in understanding the meeting and separation. My Gurudev has described many times that meeting is the highest and separation is the pinnacle. So what do you make from that? Separation is higher, or union is higher? They're both the same. The pinnacle and the topmost, so they're the same ultimately. They both produce this Madanakya Mahabhav. One is in Madan, meeting, and one is in Mohan. So we have Madan, Mohan. This is the explanation of the name, Madan, Mohan, meeting, separation. So, billowing waves of meeting and separation. Samyog and Viyog. We have Samyogini, Sri Radha, Rishabhana Nandini, and we have Viyogini, Sri Radha, Samyogini. Yes. In which both Bhagavan and the devotee remain blissfully submerged. So this is the, what do we say? The dynamic, the feeling, the bhav. So now another sentence from the Krishnastakabiraj's Manglacarana. Gaurabdir etar amuna vitir nai. Is that how you say that word? Vitir nai?
Vitirnaihi.
Vitirnaihi, yes, with an H. So Gaurabdi means the Gaura ocean. Sri Krishna, who is Akila Rasamrita Sindhu, the complete ocean of nectarian flavors. But he can't taste it to the highest. Even though he is that ocean, still his ability to taste himself cannot be complete till he takes the form of Mahaprabhu. Is Gaurabdi, the golden ocean. The word Amuna means by him, as in the sense of distributed to or rained upon by the cloud named Ramananda. So Ramananda is putting this nectarian ambrosial shower back onto Mahaprabhu. Thus the import is that Sriman Mahaprabhu impelled the Ramananda cloud to rain the ambrosial conclusions of his own bhakti upon the ocean of his own self. So Mahaprabhu's desires, Shiradaya Pranaya Mahima, these three desires are being fulfilled by this exchange with Ramananda. He's becoming the taster of his own truths. He's gifting the truths to Ramananda through the evaporation of the water into the cloud, and then he's tasting those same truths showering back upon him. So he's achieving his desire to taste these truths as the Ashraya, because he has this potential as being the Ashraya within him. He's taken the Bhav and Kanti of Sri Radhika. So Sakhi Bhav. So Ramananda Rai is Vishaka. So she knows the Sakhi Bhav absolutely better than anybody else, as well as Swarup Damodar, Lalita Sakhi. So who else could give more conclusively than Ramananda Rai? It's an amazing arrangement that Krishna has made here. Ambrosial conclusions of his own bhakti upon the ocean of his own self. Upon the ocean of his own self. These Siddhantas imperceptibly appeared in Ramananda Rai's heart, and he in turn revealed them to Mahaprabhu. This is what's happening. Then Mahaprabhu again relished the mercy which he had imperceptibly bestowed upon Sri Ramananda Rai, and he accepted these jewels of devotion, or bhakti ratnas. He accepted these jewels. In Sri Bhagavad Gita 18:55, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavan yaschasmi tatvataha. I am only understood by pure devotion. Therefore, for the welfare of the entire world, Krishna posed questions and Ramananda Rai answered him. It's interesting to note that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the first verse, he gives 5 explanations. And the first is that the Brahman is the principal jewel of the Bhagavatam. Then he goes further and he says, no, Lord Narayan is the jewel. Then he goes further again. He says, no, it's Radha and Krishna are the jewels that we can get from the Bhagavatam. Then he goes further again and said, no, it's the dynamic of meeting and separation, which is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have Gopi Geet, Venu Geet, Pranaya Geet, Brahmara Geet, Venu Geet. We have all these Geets of separation amongst the meeting of the Ras Leela. And then finally, the final explanation, the final conclusion is Bhakti Devi herself is what can be achieved from this Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Bhakti is the worship by the worshipper. So the Jiva is the worshipper of the Vishaya. He's the Ashraya. So he is worshipping the object of worship, who is Krishna. So this is what can be experienced from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are as the Ashraya approaching Sri Krishna through all the different chapters. We see going through the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th cantos, 8th, 9th canto. Krishna is prominently portrayed, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are worshipping that personality. And then we roll over into the 10th canto, and then we see the speciality of this Madhurya Prem. So we can connect with Krishna in worship to that. So the Jiva is experiencing this bhakti, this devotion through the Bhagavatam. And this is the same devotion that Sriman Mahaprabhu is going to experience himself as the Ashraya through receiving the answers to his questions from Ramananda Rai. So now another line from the Manglacarana by by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Tad natva ratna layatam prayati. The knowledge of this bhakti siddhanta excuse me. The knowledge of this bhakti siddhanta has been referred to here as ratna, a precious jewel. when these devotional conclusions are soaked in bhakti ras. Bhakti ras is different to bhakti. Bhakti is direct devotion, but bhakti ras is the mixing of the ingredients on the platform of coming into Vrindavan, the Leelas. This is the distinction. Bhakti and bhakti ras, there's a distinction here, big distinction. And enter the ears of a single pointed devotee, a Kantika Bhakta, one Bhakta whose heart and focus is single pointed on coming to that Braja Prem, coming to the lotus feet of Sri Radhika, because it's only by her mercy and the Sakhis that we can enter Braj. There's no other way to enter Braj, no other way. This is what is also brought out in these pages here on Sakhi Tattva. He becomes like an ocean of jewels. I'll just read that last sentence again. When these devotional conclusions are soaked in bhakti ras and enter the ears of a single pointed devotee, he becomes like an ocean of jewels. These ocean of jewels fall back upon the devotee, upon the ashraya. The ashraya in this case is Mahaprabhu. This is what he wants to taste. Mahaprabhu inspired the heart of Sri Ramananda Rai. Sriman Mahaprabhu then personally listened in order to establish the topmost example and thus encourage in others also an eagerness to hear. Those jewels have now appeared in the form of this book, which presents the crest jewel of all spiritual perfections. We didn't read that yesterday, did we? I must have read it. Sriman Mahaprabhu already knew every aspect of Bhakti Siddhanta in full. If this were not so, how could he have empowered the heart of Sri Ramananda Roy? We didn't read this, did we? No. How could he have empowered the heart of Sri Ramananda Rai with all devotional conclusions? Of course Mahaprabhu knows the devotional conclusions, but when he hears them, and I gave yesterday the example of how Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada would love to hear his own books read to him, and he would have newer realizations by listening to them. By listening to those same truths showering back upon him, he would have newer and newer appreciations of the Supreme. It's not like it's just final, cut like that. It's always ecstatic. Then the question naturally arises, how was it that the Lord gained knowledge of Siddhanta by hearing from the lotus mouth of Sri Ramananda Roy? What is the meaning of this? How could Mahaprabhu have received this ecstatic realization from hearing from Ramananda Roy? He already gave the knowledge to Ramananda Roy. Now he's hearing it back. How could he have experienced this ecstatic nectar? The answer is given here. The answer is that previously Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's knowledge had simply been gyan. So now it's going to be explained. Theory, gyan, theory. But after hearing from Sri Ramananda Rai, that knowledge became vigyan, realized knowledge. Gyan and vigyan are not the same thing. Here, gyan refers to ordinary knowledge, tattva siddhanta, ordinary, atma tattva, etc. Whereas vigyan entails special knowledge. There's rahasya in there. There's this guyam in there, this secret, which is full of realization. Bhagavan Sri Krishna said to Lord Brahma,
Jnanam parama guhyam me yek vijnana samanvitam sarahasyam tadangam cha grihana gatitam maya.
This is the introduction to the Chatushloki of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 9th chapter of the 2nd canto, Shukadeva Goswami is giving the Chatushloki directly from Lord Brahma to Narad, to Vyas, from Shukadeva. He's speaking this. This is the introduction to it. O Brahma, knowledge concerning me is absolute. Absolute knowledge. Non-dual, advaya, and supremely confidential. Even though it is without differentiation, it is eternally divided into 4 categories, or we can say 4 features. Gyan, theoretical knowledge, just in the mental quantum. Samvit, Shakti. Vigyan, realized knowledge in the heart. Rahasya, confidential knowledge, opening out. And Tadanga, concomitant parts of that knowledge or the limbs of devotion. So that becomes like the Abhideya, how to access, how to activate that knowledge to become a living experience for the jiva. These are the limbs. This is the Tadanga. By your intelligence, as a jiva, you cannot understand this. This is what Krishna is saying to Lord Brahma, because Lord Brahma is revealing to Narad what Krishna spoke to him. Krishna spoke these 4 verses of the Chatushloki, which make up the entirety of the Bhagavatam. So now, Lord Brahma is relating this to Narad. And Krishna is telling Lord Brahma he can't understand this. Where was that? By your intelligence as a jiva, you cannot understand this. But by my mercy, the mercy is such an important ingredient. We can't understand this by academic prowess or our intelligence, our apparent intelligence. It has to be by mercy. Mercy contains everything. Mercy of Guru, mercy of the Guru Varga. This is why we're always crying for mercy on the appearance and disappearance days all the way through the year. We want this kripa, we want this mercy. Now realize it. So Narayan is imparting this to Brahma, and he's telling him to realize it. Gyan is my Swarup, original form or essential identity. Who is Krishna? Atma Tattva. Vigyan is the knowledge pertaining to bhakti, to me. What is the nature of this bhakti, this devotion to me? Bhakti mam abhijananti. We just said this verse previously, that without this devotion you cannot enter into the kingdom of the Lord. Pertaining to bhakti to me. My rahasya, secret knowledge, is the minute jiva. The minute jiva, this conditioned soul, this is the secret knowledge. We'll explain more in a minute. Pradhan, the unmanifested modes of material nature in its original and undifferentiated state. Undifferentiated state. This is where we manifest from. We come from originally the Tatashta. We come into the body of Mahavishnu because we have decided to come into the material world. We made the decision ourselves from the Tatashta. We had a choice. Do you want to go and worship the Lord? Is that the spontaneous desire to do that? Or are you attracted to the glitter of Maya and being like the Lord? That is the carrot. That is the tantalizing desire that is woken up. Yes, I can be like God. So we come then, when we've made that decision, we come into the body of Mahavishnu. Then Mahavishnu glances on Maya Devi, and that glance is carried by Shambhu. And with that glance, the jiva, the prototype of all the jivas, is carried within that glance, plus the element of time. Because prior to that, there was no time in the spiritual world. In the Tatashta, there's no time. We come from a timeless place. We come from the spiritual world in the sense we come from the Brahman, but we don't come from being with Krishna. We come from his effulgence, and we come into this material world. And the first place we come is the Pradhan. The Pradhan is the unconglomerate, incohesive elements. It's called
Homogeneous.
Homogeneous, yes. This homogeneous, like, it's exactly likened to a mother who has all the ingredients within her to produce a child, but nothing has actually come together, so to speak. This is like the pradhan stage. Nothing is there. But when the jiva is injected into the pradhan, then the prakriti, because the element of time has come in with the jiva, and that agitates the three modes of material nature. So from that, then the jiva begins his sojourn in this material world. So that's the story, so to speak. That's the line, how we get here. And that's the pradhan. That's the final, the unmanifested modes of material nature in its original and undifferentiated state. My Gyananga, limb of Gyan, or knowledge, that's what that is. The eternal non-duality and confidential differences of these four tattvas are all transformations of my potency. Knowing this, that Krishna, Bhakti-mam, Krishna, Chatushloki of the Gita?
Aham Eveda.
No, not the Bhagavatam. The Gita.
Oh, Gita.
Bhakti, just Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, Mataha Sarvam Prabha. I am that supreme controller. The eternal non-duality and confidential differences of these four tattvas are all transformations of my potency, which is simultaneously one with and different from me, Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. It's not that Krishna himself, this is where all the sampradayas made the error, so to speak, of considering that this knowledge was Vastu Parinambad. Vastu indicates Krishna transforming. Parinambad means transformation. But it was not Krishna transforming. It was Krishna's Shakti. So again, this is another jewel that Sachinandan Gaurahari has brought with him in his incarnation to purify all the sampradayas. Their vision of Shakti Parinambad. This is another jewel. So this particular description is also described very lucidly in the Shikshastikam. In the Shikshastikam, if you have that, you can take a note of it. It's on page 6 of the latest edition of the Shikshastikam, and it's describing the four features of the absolute truth. And Jiva Goswami, he's given what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing here, but he's quoting from Jiva Goswami. He says he compares these four features to the four aspects of the sun: the effulgence situated in the interior of the sun planet, the sun globe, the atomic particles of sunlight emanating from the sun, and the reflected rays of the sun. We are reflected. These reflected rays are like Maya. Although the sun is one, it exists in four forms. So this is Swarup, Tadrupa Vaibhav, and the Jivas and Pradhan. So it's exactly the same that my Gurudev describes here in this paragraph. This is called Tattva. This is actually Krishna Tattva, and it'll be explained in the next paragraph. Here, Gyan indicates Krishna Tattva. Krishna is the Ishtadev of Sangvit Shakti. Right? We have the Sandini, Baladev, the Sangvit, which is Krishna, and we have the Hladini, which is Sri Radha. So here Gyan indicates Krishna Tattva. Vigyan denotes Radha Tattva. Rahasya signifies the Tattva of Prem. Prem is the relationship between two persons. The relationship between Radha and Krishna culminates in Prem, and entities. Like when we chant Hare Krishna, there are three entities. There's Hare, and there's Krishna, and there's the Prem between them. It actually makes three personalities. Prem herself is a personality. Vigyan denotes Radha Tattva. Rahasya signifies the Tattva of Prem, and Tadanga means Tattva of Srimati Radha and Sri Krishna's loving pastimes, Vilas. So this is the conclusion of this presentation by Lord Brahma. So my Gurudev is making this on a very powerful foundation.
one observation, Maharaj. So this paragraph where Jnana indicates Krishna, Vijnana indicates Radha Tattva. So even this is not specified in the Srimad Bhagavatam commentaries.
No.
When
No.
you,
It's so confidential
yes.
that in the Bhagavatam, this confidentiality is retained. And it only opens out when we take the teachings of Sachinandan Gaurahari. We are in fact going to a more confidential place than the Bhagavatam alludes to all this. Everything is there in the Bhagavatam, but in code form. And it's covered over. It's secret, it's guyam. But with the commentaries, etc., of Sridhar Swami, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, Jiva Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, all these commentaries will bring out the real essence of this Radha Bhav, but it's not there directly. So these commentaries were all written through our Guru Varga. The commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, etc., is coming from Rupa Goswami. This is all coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. None of this was here before Mahaprabhu. We've already said that. These truths weren't there before Mahaprabhu. I find this really electrifying to appreciate, because at this particular time in history, the darkness of this Kali Yuga, the most degenerate time in history, we're celebrating the highest, most esteemed philosophy ever heard before. These teachings have not been broadcast before Mahaprabhu. We described this yesterday. So this is a cause for great, great joy and celebration. One can obtain Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who is Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, simultaneously one with and different from his own multifarious energies, only by the process of sadhan bhakti. It starts with sadhan bhakti. And sadhan bhakti must be focused on bhav bhakti. Otherwise, sadhan bhakti is zero. Sadhan bhakti is simply ritualistic if it's not being focused on bhav bhakti. We must understand the nature of bhav bhakti. This is described in the 22nd chapter of Jayavadama very beautifully. What is bhav bhakti? Without that, I said the other day, this verse, Klesha Shubhada Moksha Lukhata Krit, unless this understanding of what is basically bhav bhakti means I no longer want moksha, liberation. I want the bhavs of the residents of Vrindavan. This is the meaning of bhav bhakti. My service to the residents of Vrindavan, the Brijvasis, particularly the gopis, and in particular Sri Radhika. This indicates bhav bhakti. If my sadhan practice is not being focused, even though I'm so unqualified, I'm so fallen, I'm such a fool, I have no qualification, but still I'm hearing these truths, and I know that my practice must be focused on that supreme sadhya. So this is really going to be brought out very, very clearly and very strongly in this conversation. These jewels that are showering, these jewels that Mahaprabhu is distributing himself by listening to the nectar from his own inspiring moods within the heart of Ramananda Rai, within the heart of Vishaka. We are getting Sakhi Bhav. That's what we're going to get from this. But even more, Mahaprabhu will make us understand. The Acharyas, they have shown us that Sakhi Bhav is not accessible to the jiva without a Sakhi who's giving it to you. There must be a Sakhi to give you Sakhi Bhav. I can remember very early reading the story, the Ras Leela pastimes, thinking, oh yes, I want to be a gopi dancing in Ras Leela. This is really, really an exceptional. These are Radhika's direct kaya vyuha that are manifested for that sambhog ichamayi relationship with Krishna. They have the eternal adhikar of the being able to dance with Krishna. That's their eternal, their nitya siddha parikars. And if we aspire for that, we have to come in the anugatya of those parikars. So Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar did not make sampradayas. They did not make their chain of Sakhi Bhav. They did not distribute Sakhi Bhav. That wasn't because they loved Mahaprabhu. They knew what Mahaprabhu wanted to distribute. Mahaprabhu wanted to distribute Manjari Bhav, service to Sri Radhika, exclusively to Sri Radhika. Sakhi Bhav is more service to Krishna, isn't it? Like Mirabai, for example, historically. She wanted to serve Krishna, that is Sakhi Bhav. She saw Krishna in her visions in Dwarkadish. This is Sakhi Bhav. And you cannot attain that without having the Sakhi who's already in that place. It's exactly the same analogy that I've already described of the fire within wood. There has to be a piece of wood that's already on fire to ignite it. You can't just get it out of the ether, out of your own speculative dreaming and imagining. It has to come from authority. This is the beauty of this whole Ramananda Sam. It's the beauty of our whole Gaudiya line. Is it so concerned with where is the source? Who is the source? What is the authority coming through? Because this age is filled with speculative kind of ideas and so on, which are all will take you just to an empty place. They won't take you to the heart, the speciality of that Radha Bhav Duti Subalitam, Nomi Krishna's, to appreciate Sachinandan Gaur Hari. Really. We appreciate him by appreciating his gifts, and he's given this Manjari Bhav. So our Ishtadev is Sri Radhika. It's not Krishna. We love Krishna because Sri Radhika loves Krishna. It's very beautiful, but it needs time to practice under the guidance of Guru. So we must finish this today. Where did we get to go on? Sadhan Bhakti. Knowledge that we grasp by hearing from another is called Gyan. Right? You get the Gyan, then you take it away, and by yourself it becomes Vigyan. It enters the heart, mixes with the Hladini Shakti, and becomes realized, tasteful. Which when realized in the heart is then called Vigyan. It was Vigyan that Sriman Mahaprabhu obtained from Ramananda Rai. He obtained the Vigyan. Bhagavan Sri Krishna is the Vishaya, the enjoyer or the object of bhakti. He is not the Ashraya, the abode of bhakti. Bhakti means devotion. Krishna is devoted to Radhika. But all the jivas are principally devoted to Krishna initially. That's how the first 9 cantos guide us, that devotion. But then the dynamic changes. He is completely unaware of the feelings aroused in the heart of the sadhuk. Krishna doesn't know the feelings in this. The feelings of love that the sadhuk feels towards Krishna, Krishna can't experience those same feelings himself because he's the Vishaya. They are the Ashraya. By his devotional service to him. I'll read it again. He is completely unaware of the feelings aroused in the heart of the sadhuk by his devotional service to him. The devotee serves him in one of 4 relationships: dasya, servitorship; sakhya, fraternity; vatsalya, parentalhood, affection; or madhurya bhav, amorous love. Thus, Sri Krishna is the Vishaya, or object of devotion, of all the various Ashraya Jatiya, devotees, those who are the shelters or receptacles of divine love. The Ashraya hold the love for the object of love. You understand? Sri Krishna does not have the loving sentiments of the devotees who are the receptacles of divine love, Ashraya Jatiya. He cannot taste the supreme, indescribable happiness that Sri Radhika feels when she sees his enchanting form. How is it possible for Sri Krishna to experience the state of happiness that Sri Radhika reaches in the stage of Rag and Anurag? And these stages are described in the footnote, which is interesting to appreciate. So, the Anurag, when Sneha, deep affection, we go from Sneha, Rag, Anurag. Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag. When Sneha, deep affection, is imbued with intense longing, it is known as Rag. With the appearance of Rag, even a moment of separation is intolerable, and at that time even distress seems to be happiness. When Rag always experiences its object, the most beloved Krishna, in ever fresh ways, then it is called Anurag. So that's an extremely high state, Anurag. It's described that the queens of Dwarka achieved this stage of Anurag, but not beyond Anurag. And especially in the stage of Madanakya Mahabhav, this is the final stage, the supreme stage of exaltation in which all the various stages of prema, from Rati to Mahabhav, are manifest simultaneously in their most radiant form, is called Madanakya Mahabhav. So these Asta Sattvika Bhavs, 8 blazing Sattvika Bhavs, are in the stage of Madanakya Mahabhav. And there's the Mohan Akya Mahabhav. This Mohan is separation. This is what Mahaprabhu experiences in the Gambhira. Finally, Krishna wanted to know, what are the glories of Sri Radha's pranaya? What are the glories of Sri? This pranaya is the love that has no boundaries. My Gurudev used to describe, like, if you're in the bathroom and you're looking at a reflection of yourself in the mirror and you're naked, there's no difference between your reflection and yourself. So it's like that between the two lovers. There's no distinction between them. Radha thinks she's Krishna and Krishna thinks she's Radha. What are the glories of Sri Radha's pranaya, intense love? What type of happiness does she experience in loving service to me? How does she taste the nectar of my sweetness? Krishna becomes bewildered. Why is Radhika embracing a tamal tree? Why is Radhika thinking that that is me? What sort of state and pitch of ecstasy has she attained to think that? Krishna doesn't think that. Krishna doesn't embrace the Kadamba trees. He doesn't have the same love that Sri Radhika has for the, because the Ashraya holds more love. The Ashraya is the source of love. It starts when you read Vidagdha Madhav. The relationship is described, Rupa Goswami, from the beginning, and it's Radha who has that love, and it's Krishna who responds to that love. Krishna accepts her mood. To fulfill these desires, Sri Krishna accepted her mood and complexion, and coming as the ashraya, the shelter or receptacle of the divine love, he appeared in this world as Sri Gaur Sundar. He infused the heart of Sri Ramananda Rai with the conclusions of his own bhakti ras, the ambrosia of devotion. Shri Radhaya pranaya mahima kidrisho vanaiva, swadyo yenad bhuta madhurima kidrisho madhya, sokya kaschasya mad anubhavata kidrisham vetilova. Sokya means happiness. What is the happiness that mad anubhav, that my love increases the feelings in Radhika? What is the happiness that she feels by seeing my love, her love? Sorry, got to get this right. This sokyam kasyam mad anubhavita kidrisham vetilovat means that Sri Radhika, Krishna wants to experience the happiness that Radhika experiences by receiving the sweetness of his love. She receives the sweetness of his love that is manifesting because of the power of her love. I have to think about that one. That's a very beautiful verse. Tad bhava dyas samajani sachi garavo sindhu harindu. So the first line is that Mahaprabhu wants to understand the glories of Radha's love. How glorious is her love. Then he wants to understand his madhurima, kidrisho, this sweet qualities in him that she perceives. Then he wants to understand the happiness that she experiences by receiving the sweetness of his love. This is very sweet contemplation, and it should be our principal contemplation. We want, if we're performing devotional service, what does devotional service mean? It means you want to please your Ishtadev, you want to please Sri Radhika, you want to please Sri Krishna in either way. What will please them? You need to know them, you need to understand them. It is only by the influence of his mercy, potency, Kripa Shakti, that the Lord's desire could be fulfilled. In Brihat Bhagavatamrita, it is told how Sri Gopkumar bestowed realization of ecstatic love upon his disciple in the same manner. This Brihat Bhagavatamrita, the same situation. He simply placed his lotus hand on the head of his disciple, who then realized everything. This example illuminates a secret. Should the jiva wish to receive the ecstasy of the fundamental truths regarding Bhagavan, he should hear only from the devotee who possesses such realizations. We've already explained that in length. The pastimes of Sri Hari are naturally stored only in the heart of such a devotee. Such narrations, full of transcendental knowledge and bliss, cause the listeners to also relish them. Have you followed what we've been saying? Isn't it sweet? You have to really, really pay attention. You have to be absorbed in Mahaprabhu's desires. You have to be absorbed in the situation that's about to unfold. It's a complete meditation and absorption, fully. We have to give up other distracting ideas and thoughts, because here is everything. Here is Srimad Bhagavatam. We've already gone through the Chatushloki today of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the essence of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's the very heartbeat, the pran, the life of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Adi Leela chapter 4 is a prelude, and that begins the identity of Mahaprabhu. But here, Madhya Leela 8 is really opening this out in such a powerful way. So we've reached the end of that section. That was just the Manglacarana. So we've just discussed the introduction already, and we've gone through the Manglacarana. So not tomorrow. Tomorrow I won't be speaking. Tomorrow is Sunday, and Sunday I have other classes at this time, so I won't be speaking tomorrow as normal, that I wasn't speaking on Sundays previously with the Jaiva Dharma, etc. So on Monday we'll meet again, same time, and we'll begin the meeting of Ramananda Roy. We'll work through this whole book, and hopefully a few weeks, couple of months maybe, and we'll appreciate it fully. Based on the teachings of Jaiva Dhamma, the teachings of even Dhammadarastikam, they're all included. The teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, everything is included here. So, Rai Ramananda Sangvad ki jai. Nanta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo, Vaishnave Namo Namaha.